GM, and welcome to the Boonified Experience podcast. I'm your host, Kyle, but really, most people just call me Boona. This is a Web3 podcast where I interview artists, builders, innovators, decentralized finance or DeFi wizards, and GM enthusiasts, of course. The mission here is to highlight trustworthy individuals in the space, share amazing art, and build a strong culture as we rewrite the history of IP and entertainment forever. Real quick disclaimer before we get started on this episode. There was some formatting issues on the back end when we were getting everything done. So the aspect ratio of my camera and the artist camera is a little bit off. That is just going to be for this episode. It was a weird random bug. So I do apologize in advance for that. Just will be a little bit different. And buckle up, y'all. This is a 3-hour podcast with my man Gorilla. There's really no place to start with this guy. I mean, it's hard to know where to start, I should say. Insanely talented artist, previous with the Simpsons Family Guy, has an incredible story, something that I really resonated with. And it's just, in my opinion, when I look up the word grit from now on, this is going to be the person I think of. So buckle up, strap in, maybe brew a pot of coffee this time. This episode is going to be an absolute banger, inspirational, creatively, all of it above. I'm gonna stop babbling. Let's go ahead and get started with the show. Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. Like, I'll tell you, like, I didn't tell you this before we started recording, but actually, where I found you was when you came into that Twitter Spaces with Hunter, and I can't remember the other people's names when they were talking about that video game that they were creating in the metaverse, and you just came on and started like, "Hey, this is what we're doing. Here's all the artwork I've created." Like, and I'm just like, holy shit, this guy's coming in here with like a vengeance, man. Like, he's coming in here with the energy. He's like bringing it. I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy. Like,
well, I appreciate you inviting me on, man. And yeah, I jumped in on that because, since I was a kid, we were talking about this earlier. But since I was a kid, I've always been into like cartoons, but along with video games. And I'll tell you, I didn't mention the video games before, but I'll tell you, when I was in the second grade, I was constantly drawing and stuff, and I was a brawler. I was a little fat kid. And because I was always in my notebook drawing, I got picked on. And I was one of those kids that took it. So I immediately was just ready to scrap. So my second grade teacher was Miss Murphy. She actually told my parents that, that it's good that I like to draw and stuff because I got a talent and that they should encourage it. My mom and dad always did. But at that time they were saying, and she told my parents, your name translates in English. Your name is Miguel Angel. It translates to Michelangelo. It's fitting since you draw. And I was like, oh, who was that? I didn't know who that was. So she's like, well, it's a real famous artist and stuff. I'm like, cool. So how do cartoons move? So she went and found a flip book and got me. I don't know if she bought it or stole it. I don't know if she got it. A flip book of Pluto. And she showed me a little flip book for the first time. She said, this is called animation. This is called an animated cartoon. This is how they move, which was awesome for me. Like, whoa, I finally got to see how it worked. But it was very detrimental to all my books after that. But luckily I drew in pencil, but every book from there on out was just try and flip the pages to draw little stick figures or something to move just to see if I can do it. And, as I got older, I got, video games came into my life. And that was like, dude, this is my thing. I remember the first time plugging in the rabbit antennas and putting this little box where you had to switch it to UHF and stuff and be on channel 3. And
that was me. I was a Channel 3 kid. I was a Channel 3 kid. Yeah. So my first.
You know it.
Yeah, you'll like this. So I was born in the early '90s, and so my first console was Super Nintendo, and that was my favorite one. It was actually a hand me down. It was given from somebody, like it was like at a garage sale that they just didn't like want it, and they just gave it to me, and plus like 50 games for it, and that was like,
scored.
Oh, dude, major score,
big time.
100%.
Well, I kind of got our first little console was, I think it was my cousin's, and he got in trouble because he was constantly playing it, and his mom said, "You got to throw it out." And I said, "Dude, toss it over here." It ended up at my house. Therefore, hey man, possession is 9/10 of the law. It was mine now.
Yeah.
So it was just Pong. It was that little Pong game.
Yeah.
And then I remember my dad had a pool hall at that time when we were kids, and there was this guy that had the liquor store, and we would go talk to the guy because he played pool at my dad's pool hall. He put in a pinball machine, and he told my dad, he goes, and he put a pinball machine at the time. He's like, this is where the money's at now. These games, people put quarters in all day. And my dad's like, I'm a pool hall. I get it, but it's too loud. It's not for me. And I told him he'd let me play all the time. Just give me quarters and let me play. And then he got Asteroids, and then he got Centipede, and as you know, the evolution of the game started. I got into Pac-Man so hardcore that I was like, I got into a competition when I was like, I don't know, 11 or something like that. It was really early. I was like in 80. Yeah, it was like in 80, 81 or something like that. It was a Pac-Man competition.
Awesome, man.
Our local arcade was called Dungeons and Dragons, and I remember at that time I was into cartoons. I wanted to get into animation, but I knew that this animation and games were connected, because all of a sudden characters and stuff that I was like seeing were now you can control them, and it was no longer just watching a cartoon. Like, you can make that dude move up, down, sideways. And then Don Bluth came out. I think it's called Dragon Slayer. It's like it looks like you're an option game where you're playing and you choose to go right or left. And then that's when I started thinking, man, this is it. I got to do this. So I kept really trying to like hone my skills in drawing and animate, in cartooning, trying to really learn as best I could about animation. But at that time, it was pretty hard to find. There was no internet. You had to go to the library. Yeah, I gotta tell you right now, I wasn't one that he would never find me shouting the doorsteps of no library unless it was like, hey, they're giving out free donuts. Oh, I'm there. I was there for that.
You're right.
But other than that, no, I wasn't going to show up to a library.
Question for you, man. When it came to like the specific like animated character, why cartoon characters? Why not something else? Like what was it that drew you into cartoon characters?
The idea that something that was like, it was Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, and all those other ones that kind of drew me in. I guess it was the comedy, the visual comedy of something. You didn't need them to talk. You didn't need them to you didn't need, all of a sudden it was like, I can turn down the volume and watch funny stuff and no one's going to say anything. Now there were 6 of us. My mom had 6 of us. Yeah, mom. But there's 6 of us. So it was always loud. So she didn't mind that the volume was still the colorful sounds and the boinks and the all the onomatopoeias, the kapows, all that stuff, which is so amazing. And then also, it was kind of like, I don't know if you remember this, but back when I was a kid, there was a show called Batman, Adam West. And in the intro, it was an anime version of them as the intro. And then there was like live action. And then you'd go, there was pinball machines that had the characters. And at that time, I heard that people were trying to make games where you would be a superhero like that. And I remember that I'd have to say it was in the early 80s is when I was really thinking about like cartoons like Bugs Bunny and them. How can I make it fun so I can drop an anvil on someone myself and choose where to go and chase the Roadrunner, something like that. I was thinking about that stuff, but only because they were easier to draw than like that intro to Batman. That looked very complex to me. That looked like really like, wow, that's very advanced art. Where Bugs Bunny and any of the Mickey Mouse, where I can see the circles and shapes, which, to this day, even when I create characters, I immediately start seeing circles, cylinders, squares as my pencil starts to touch the paper. So it was easier for me to want to build characters that were based upon the simple structures to move them in a video game world. So I thought of that. Gotcha. Now, when I was a kid, I'm not gonna lie, I was hanging out with some thugs. I ran with my homeboys, and they weren't all into they loved my artwork, and they thought, Michael, you're great. One day you're going to be somebody. And I thought, cool, maybe I will. But when I would talk about like, hey, we'd party up or something, and I'd talk about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if like we could get in like in Tron? I'd seen Tron, and then that really pushed me into the idea of being able to jump into a video game. And I thought, hey, wouldn't that be cool if we could go in and like just do a bunch of a bunch of hood rat shit with our friends and just do a bunch of stuff. And they were like, hey, we were partying at the time. Like, hey, bro, you need to kick back. You've crossed the line. I think maybe this is affecting you. Yeah. And they didn't understand what I was talking about. And even prior to that, when I was a little kid with my brother, we used to pretend with like we found castanetas, little castanetas. What are they called? Castanets, the little clackers. And we'd flip them open. And we were like, hey, communicator, Starship Enterprise. We'd sit there and talk to each other that way. And I remember telling my brother, one of these days, these things are going to be real. And the first time we got our flip phones, I remember looking at it and flipping it open. And I was doing that little sound to my brother. I went, Maul, hey, Captain, I'm here. And he's all, oh, no way, it's here. I'm like, yeah, I told you it was going to happen. And so when I was a kid, I used to dream of about being in video games and making my cartoons and being involved in animation and doing all this other stuff. And, but where I was growing up, it was in the hood.
Yeah.
Dude, they call me gorilla for a reason. I was a big kid. I mean,
Yeah.
in the seventh grade, I was already pushing 3 bills. I was a five
Holy
eight and three
shit,
hundred
man.
pounds. I was a big kid. So
Wow.
but
Yeah.
I felt like I was sturdy. I
Yeah.
wasn't sloppy.
Yeah.
I was just active, moving around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
always riding bikes. I used to try to ride skateboards. I still love skateboarding, and I'll get to it. But I'm trying to build a metaverse, and in it, of course, I'm going to have a lot of extreme sports and
Yeah.
skateboarding and bike riding and stuff as part of it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of my thing. Back then, I wanted to do things, and because I was so big, I remember getting on a bike and trying to jump a car. It was the stupidest thing ever. It was the way it was a crazy ramp setup. But anyways, I tried it. I failed,
Yeah.
it was the effort, the attempt.
Yeah.
I tried to learn how to ollie on skateboards, and I was just so big. I constantly break those things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
they were thick boards too. I was
Yeah.
thinking, man, they
Yeah.
were heavy,
Yeah.
but I was still busting them up, and it just wasn't for me. And I stuck to bikes, and it was still to this day. I think that if I had like some VR glasses and be able to sit on something and feel that sensation of jumping and pulling or flying or doing some of that stuff, that'd be cool. And
Yeah.
recently, several years ago, we saw that Ready Player One, and when we saw that, oh my God, it was one of those things where I thought for sure someone like tapped into my brain and said, "Hey, this guy dreamt this once. Hey, just make it happen, and make it so everyone can see it." So I was telling Meg, it's kind of cool when that movie came out that I was thinking that, I'm not the crazy person that thinks this way,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but
And,
like,
and real quick though, man, like I think that like like one thing that because we're eventually going to start talking about NFTs here in a minute, like, and we're going to like, but what I really feel is so incredible about this space and how it like the best way I've heard it was actually one of my first guests when I started interviewing people in Web3, and he was like the NFTs are like think of it like the Goonies when they found the lost, like when they found the hidden treasure,
uh,
except the hidden treasure wasn't gold. It's what they had in their imaginations as a little kid. Like, and we've just unlocked that. And it's like this massive wave of creativity and people that like didn't know that they thought the same way, but they never quite were comfortable sharing those types of
yeah,
thoughts. But now it's an actual like real thing that has like real implications behind it. And
yeah,
real connection and real community, and it's actually possible to build that with the technology. I just think it's so
yeah.
fucking cool, man. Like,
It is.
yeah.
I'm excited because now it's no longer okay. I was having issue, um, like you found me where you found me, but I don't know
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
my background. I'll go back a little bit. Like I said,
Mhm.
I got all the way up into high school. I started getting in my little cartoony aspects. By
Yeah.
the time I got into college, I knew the college wasn't for me, so I started a T-shirt company where I could draw my cartoons, put them on
Sick.
T-shirts, and
Sick.
eventually
Yep.
probably make a cartoon and maybe a video game out of it. So
Yep.
I started doing Wongaware, and that was pretty successful. And that was in the early 90s. And then I'd say in the mid 90s, I really wanted to start pursuing animation. Again, I was like, it was like calling, I had to do it. So then I said, I'm going to try it. So I went to a convention somewhere in LA. I think it was the LA Convention Center. They had some big animation expo. I came across this school called Crane Royer Studios, which was a debunk school. It sucked balls. But those guys, when I went there, they had a table and a bunch of students were there. And at that time, all I had was like what would be technically a catalog sheet was of shirt designs.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was walking around with that, and I walked up to this table and I said, "Hey, what do you guys do?" They said what they did. I told them I really want to get more into animation, and I'm going to expand operations. I do T-shirts, but I want to move into animation. And no
Mm.
one really at that table wanted to talk to me, but one kid, his name was Donald DJ Shaw, and who's now I adopted him that day. He was a
Yeah.
kid. He was like 17 or 18 years old, and we started talking and stuff. And he asked to keep my little log sheet, and I said, "Sure, you could have it." I know several months went by, maybe even a year. I don't know. I would move to the west side, and I remember that school was nearby. And I said, I'm going to go see if I could try it out. I moved to the west side. I was working doing graphics for like a company doing like a Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went to the school. It seemed really legit. They were telling us in a year you'd be working at a studio. We have all these contacts. I'm like, cool, cool, cool. As a businessman, as soon as I heard they said they had contacts, I'm thinking, cool, I'm just going to get in with the people that you guys know, and I'll take it from there because I don't need you guys from that. And that's
Yeah.
technically what I ended up doing. But I went there. First day we were there, I walked in. I see DJ. He's excited. We bond, and like I remember we had to introduce ourselves the first day there, and we all had to stand up. And they say, "What do you see yourselves a year from today?" Because they said they promised you in a year you'd be in a studio. And everybody introduced themselves, and no one said anything about where they'd be in a year. I was the last one to stand up. I stood up and I said, hey, listen, I'm telling you all right now, a year from today, I will be at a studio, come hell or high water. And everyone kind of giggled at me, but DJ. And I pointed right at him and I said, hey, that little motherfucker's coming with me. And sure enough, 9 months later, a year to that date, we had already been, he was at King of the Hill and I was at the Simpsons. That school went under. Yeah, we were the only two that got jobs. Everybody who was in that class that stuck around, I told them, I said, you guys got to bail. These guys are robbing you. I stopped paying them. They told me, they said, you pay us X amount of dollars and we guarantee you this. I told them, as a businessman, I tell you what, I'll give you a deposit and I will start paying you as I learn. As the months were going and I wasn't learning, I didn't give them any money. And so like, I'd say like 4 to 5 months into it, they were really on my ass. They're like, hey, Gorilla, you got to start paying us some money. I said, well, you guys need to start teaching me some shit. And they said, well, you know, aren't you learning anything? I said, no, you guys have doing life drawing and perspective. I mean, so what? I get that this is important for animation, but where are these contexts? Where are these adventures we're supposed to go on? We're supposed to go see studios. We didn't see one. So they said, they promised all this shit. So I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out. So I left. And this is where my story begins with the old Simpsons. I didn't have any formal training at all. I didn't have a portfolio or anything. But they did tell me, they did show us where the place was. It was called a place called Film Roman out in the valley. So they told us we were supposed to take a tour of the studio for The Simpsons, and they gave us the address, but we never took the tour. So I had the address. So I drove over there, and I walked in, and I talked to the guy in HR named Jay Francis. And I told him, I go, hey, man, I'm an artist, and I think I'm good enough to draw here. And he's all, what? He goes, you just can't walk in here and just ask for, you can't do that. And I said, sure. I go, look, I'm a business owner. I understand things. I won't waste your time. What does it take for me to get in here to be a Simpson artist? He says, well, you need a portfolio. I said, no, portfolios, I don't buy that. I don't think that they're going to hire someone based on images. Everyone's got the same shit. 15-second drawings of life drawing. I don't buy it. Tell me what the real deal is. He goes, well, you have to take a test. I said, okay, cool. Let me have that test. He goes, well, you just can't have a test. You need to review a portfolio. I said, listen, let me have a test. And if I come back and I passed, great, you guys got raw clay. But if I fail, I'll never bother you again. So this guy, Jay, laughed. He goes, okay, cool, man. I'll call your bluff. So he gives me this test. He goes, you got 2 weeks to turn this test in. I said, okay. So I walked out of the building and I stood outside. And as people were walking out, I was like, hey, what do you do here? Hey, what do you do here? Hey, what do you do here? Finally, this dude walks out and I recognize him. And I'm like, hey, dude, I know you. His name is Jeff Swampy Marsh. He created Phineas and Ferb and Milo's Murphy's Law. That's my homeboy, Jeff.
Wow.
So he walks out and I'm like, hey, I know you. We lived on the west side, so we've seen each other at a bar or something. I don't remember where we've seen each other, but I told him, I go, hey, you remember me? I'm Gorilla. We start rapping. I start telling him, hey, listen, I have 2 weeks to this test. Do you know anyone who knows how to do this? He goes, oh, I know how to do that. I'm like, no shit. I go, I don't have $80,000 for art school, but I have $6,000 in my bank account right now. I'll give you $3,000 right now to show me how to do this, and I'll give you another $3 when I hand it in, come hell or high water, whether I pass or not. He says, deal. So I give him my address. He comes to my house. We start partying and drinking and stuff. A week into this, he does it every single day. Shows up to my house, and after a week, he's all, "Dude, you got this. This is easy." So, pretty much going to the Simpsons I thought it was going to be like really challenging, but you don't go in there to reinvent the wheel. You go in there to trace. You're gonna, you don't go and become. You don't go, "Hey, I made a new Bart, a new Homer." You don't do that. Go in there. So when he showed me that, he said, hey, do it. A week later, he says, you're ready to go. Cool. I went and I handed it in. And I don't know, like a Friday later, I got a phone call from the Simpsons. Hey, this is so-and-so from the Simpsons. So can you come Monday? I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, great. So I hung up on him. So he calls me back and he's all, hey, man, it's so-and-so from the Simpsons again. So I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? He goes, we never discussed pay. I'm like, oh, shit, I'll pay. How much does it cost? He goes, no, we're going to pay you. And I'm like, discussion's over. What time do you want me there? He goes, 9. I'll be there at 8, bro. So I did. I showed up at 8 that morning on Monday. And I remember walking into HR to that guy, Jay Francis. I'm like, hey, bro, what's up? He's like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like, I work here now. He goes, what? I'm like, yeah, I passed the test. He was like, that's impossible. I'm like, dude, I'm employed here, homeboy. I work downstairs. I got a cubicle and everything. And, I started working on The Simpsons there. I was there for the end of the 9th and 10th season, and then a little bit of the 11th, but I bounced out and went to Family Guy.
That's sick, though. I want to take a moment to, like, really, I want to package out, like, what you just, because here's the fascinating part about what I heard about that is that you're like, it wasn't that hard, like, to get this done. Like, but what you did was something that not many people would think about doing is, like, number one, walking into a place and saying, like, I want to work here. What do I got to do to do it? Now that's uncommon. Number one, like that just typically doesn't happen. But number two is you press the advantage, and he gave you the test. Like, okay, so what is it really going to take for you to hire me? You
Yeah,
actually had no clue what you were doing with that test.
not a
Which
clue.
which the dope part is that because I was really fascinated, I'm like, okay, where's the story go from here? But like the fascinating part is like since you didn't know, you just stood outside and asked people like, hey, do you know how to do this? Hey, do you know how to do this? Hey, what do you do here? Like most that piece of relationship building and networking and like just asking for help, most people don't. They have too much pride in doing that. They have too much pride to like ask for help to like understand how to do it. But like there's this what I can't describe of anywhere but entrepreneurs and creators and artists is that there's this like drive where there's not another option besides the one that allows us to become ourselves. There's not another option. And like I don't think a lot of people really have that drive to where it's like no, there's no way I'm not going to be working here. Like
Yeah,
and it's not that you deserve it or they should just give it to you, but it's like there's this commitment. There's like what that says. There's this underlying commitment that you are literally willing to go to any length to like prove that you actually can do this job. And
yeah,
just that sheer confidence and that willingness to like put yourself out there, that's honestly the most impressive part, which is wild because a good 90% of people aren't willing to do that. And it's like, well, how do you get a job there? Well, you fucking do things that like most people don't do. Like
yeah. That
it's
was actually one thing they said that's like it's pretty rare that someone coming off the street. It was they said they
yeah,
were calling it at that time
yeah,
Howie Long of animation. Howie Long, the Oakland Raider, and he walked on field and he just played a little college and he just walked on. He said, I want to be
yeah,
a Raider. I thought, okay, and then boom, he was on the team and he's a
yeah,
superstar. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do that. Now you're right; it's a little uncommon. It was
yeah.
very unorthodox approach, but like you said, it wasn't It wasn't that I was desperate or I just didn't. I saw it more efficient to figure out by the source. Like even though you go to school,
Yeah.
when you get to a job, they go, "Well, you need training." Say, "Dude, I went to school for this." They're like, "Well, you need on-the-job training." Oh shit! Well, then what was that shit for? None of that's going to work. So
Hmm.
I knew that there was going to be the on-job training kind of stuff. And even
Yeah.
when I talked to Swampy, I said, "Hey, so is it going to be different than this shit?" He goes, "No, they're going to give you a script." He kind of explained the whole procedure. I'm like, "That just sounds pretty simple. You just follow instructions." They're going to give you boards and you just got to put like animated, like you got to animate that. He goes, well, not fully animate, you just do key pose, or you just like, oh, just don't worry about
Yeah.
in between. I'm all, okay. So I thought that would be pretty easy to do, and it was a great job. And the entrepreneur in me had me looking throughout the studio. By the way, when I got there, I was like a kid. Like seriously, that
Hmm.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing, that's true for real. All of a sudden, I'm sitting amongst what I feel is the elite. I used to watch The Simpsons in college with my homeboys and my friends. I remember being at my girl's house, Sherry, and our friend Guy Kelly. He was sitting there chilling. There was Guy Kelly. Well, Guy Kelly was telling me, he goes, you're just as good as these guys. I think you could work for this show. And I remember I was stoned. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it one day. The day I got hired, he was like the first person I called. They're like, bro, you're not gonna believe where I work now. He goes, don't tell me The Simpsons. I'm like, yeah, The Simpsons. I work over there now. It was crazy. So yeah, he bragged to everybody. A lot of my friends were bragging, like, hey, my buddy's just there. And everyone was surprised because no one knew I was gonna do that. They knew I was doing very well with t-shirts. I mean, I was international. I was in PacSun. I was Pacific Sunwear, Hot Topic, and
Oh
in the
shit.
countless mom and pop shops
Yeah,
throughout the
yeah, yeah.
United States, Canada, Australia, Japan, Mexico. I was everywhere, and I stopped that so I can pursue animation. And it was like it was a big it was a culture shock for me
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
sense
I'm sure.
because
Oh,
I was the
100%.
boss. I was the boss for so long, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden now I'm in a cubicle and someone's telling me what to do, and I couldn't just stay in my seat. I would do my work, and they're like, instead of like, well, I think I'll just go and see what other work I can do. I would just take that time and start finding out. So what do you do? Oh, you do boards? Oh, what does that entail? I wanted to be a character designer, so I started to
Mm,
snoop around and find. As a business owner, I wanted to know every aspect of the business I was now involved in.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was asking even the producers, as a producer, what do you do? I mean, I'd like to know. Like, I'm picking your brain, like, maybe you should get back to work. I'm done. So, well, can't you do extra work? I could, but I kind of like to know more about what I'm doing here. I'd like, yeah, and I know that it was frowned upon a lot. I got
Yeah.
into a lot of trouble. They were always, hey, Gorilla, we need to talk to you. Now about what? You
Right,
can't be
right,
talking
right.
to these guys. But see, when I was there, I also was looking for the advancements that were going to eventually occur.
Yeah.
I was downstairs at the Simpson floor. Upstairs was King of the Hill, and they had just started the pilots of Family Guy, but also Butterfinger commercials were being done on computer at that time. We were all drawing on paper. I went upstairs one day to go visit Swampy, and as I was walking by this one open door, and I looked in there. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on in here?" And I saw these guys were doing the Butterfinger commercials on the computer, and I was already computer savvy. So I already knew, I was working Corel and Photoshop. I already knew what was up. I was actually doing Adobe Flash at that time as well. So I was learning how to do vectorized work for that. So I was watching them, and I was like, hey, dude, this is the part of the Simpsons I want to be involved in. And so I started to see that that's where the future was going to head. Everyone was going to end up on the computer. So I kind of started thinking, well, I better start animating. I did do some stuff in Corel. I made a website for myself that was done in Corel, and I saved it as an AI file and imported it over to this Flash thing. And I was able to animate in a program that wasn't made for animation. And so I was really trying to like stay up to, in the loop of what was going to happen in the future. But then also I was excited that after the Simpsons, I had an opportunity for Family Guy. Family Guy said they were looking for a new character designer, and Swampy said, hey man, they're looking for a designer, and I think you could fill those shoes. And I'm all, really? And he goes, yeah, you should go over there. I'm all, who do I talk to? And he goes, come on. So Swampy takes me over there. I meet Sherry Gunther. She's the executive producer. She says, I hear you're pretty good. And she says, yeah, here, take a test and give it a shot. And they said I had to draw Peter in a special costume and pose. And the family, all of them in a special pose and costume, and then one celebrity. And the celebrity was the determining factor. And at that time, I drew Darth Maul as one of Family Guy, and I gave it to them. Dan Smith kept it. One of the guys that, can I keep this? I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
That's
I used to
awesome.
when I was at Family Guy and I became the designer, our job was to costume these characters. And I grew up in the hood, so immediately I drew the Quahog gangsters. So I drew them up as cholos and homies, and I know I gave that away to some kid, and he's all, hey, could I have this? I need something for my dorm in college. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. When I was there, I was constantly just giving away drawings, and Fox got a little pissed at that too. They're like, hey man, that's money right there, dude. It's just, they're throwaways, man. We've already handed in. These were just the roughs, and they would get mad. I get in trouble for that too. And it was pretty fun there as well. That's where the only time I really geeked out at anything was I got to work with Adam West. Remember I brought him up earlier, watching Batman?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember going, and they said, hey man, they need you upstairs for something. I'm all right, cool. So I go up there, I get in the elevator, and sure enough, there's Adam West. I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is Adam West. I'm like, hey, Adam West, hey, Batman. And he's over there, how's it going? Come on. So I can't even talk in front of him and shit. I'm like, oh shit, I think I'm freaking out, man. I've seen some shit in my life, and I'm freaking out with Batman. I can't believe it. And then finally he's all like, I go and I talk to the guys in the writer's room. They need me to do something. So as I'm leaving, now he's leaving. So we get in the elevator together, and I was like, dude, I've been waiting for this fucking moment my whole life. I'm all, to the Batcave, and I hit the button, And then he's like, hey, Gorilla, that's a great name for a sidekick. I go, hey, I see myself more of a villain, but okay, I'll take a sidekick from Batman. And I was so excited, and it was one of the most exciting things that I got to do there was to meet someone that
you looked up.
As a child, I thought, man, this guy's like incredible. He can Watusi, he could run with bombs, he could do all kinds. This guy was the for real superhero to me. And then to see him in real life, and what an honor it was to meet somebody like him. Just the show itself, the intro, a little further along to make my art want to move. And it's just thinking about how just that little bit, that little things, or playing Pac-Man, or playing Defender, or Centipede, or anything. I was telling Meg, I'll never forget the time that I fell asleep. Now, I'm sure you've had a dream where you fall or jump off something and you're falling, and you feel it. I've never jumped off a fucking mountain. I've never jumped off a building. But in dreams and stuff, apparently I can fly, and I can feel the sensation like, dude, I've done this before. And I was a kid. I was playing Joust, and there was a tournament at that Dungeons and Dragons, and I could not beat the high score, and I was just so obsessed with it. That night, I went to sleep, and I remember dreaming that I was sitting on that fucking ostrich, and I had a lance under my arm, and I can feel that thing hovering and pulsating. I remember standing on stirrups and aiming that thing at somebody else, and I was like, hey, it felt so real. I remember telling my brother the next morning, I go, dude, I adjusted the shit out of people last night. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, hey man, I was on thing. I mean, he laughed his ass off, but it
Yeah,
was, it was one of those things. It never left me. So all the way to, to Family Guy, things that I had seen, felt, and done, and all these crazy experiences, they were still pushing me into like, hey man, there's something out there. I know the dream of mine was to draw for television. That was for sure. And I was there. And when you climb to the top of the mountain, you think, dude, I'm up here. I'm at the pinnacle of the mountain. There's nowhere to go. And you look over and there's a bigger mountain. You're like, oh shit, look at that. We started climbing it recently. And all of a sudden, halfway up, we met all these NFT people. So I was like, hell yeah, this is the place to be. So, from Simpsons to Family Guy, now to NFTs, it was a good transition because after I left Family Guy, I went to work for a company called FM Rocks, and there I was an art director. And there is where I started to try to implement my ideas of trying to, before people had like hosted sites and stuff, or YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get it so where people would come to your website and you could pay to watch a video or buy their merch and stuff like that. And that we wanted to link it with a store. And we were doing all, and I was trying to like explain that my visions were a little more beyond that they were prepared for. And
Sure.
So the boss and I were starting to like butt heads a little bit. So I said, I'm not going to waste my time with someone who doesn't want to see the future. So I bounced. And I decided I went to, shortly after I bounced from there, and I started doing more freelance work for random studios. I started doing some artwork for Hugh Hefner, Playboy. They were doing a comic called Barbed Wire, and he wanted to expand the roster. Now he put me, I can't remember exactly how I met Hugh Hefner because I met him on several occasions. One time I animated a box for his son Cooper for a project. I don't know what that was for. And another time was I was a big guy, I was always a bouncer in security for a lot of places. Even when I was at the Simpsons stuff, people would, hey, can you be private security? I'm like, sure, not thinking anything about it. I was like, hey, I already have a job, but I thought it was kind of cool. So I had a lot of friends that were dancers, and they were they were doing things, and I would do security. So I was a pretty big dude. So I lost. Where was I? Huh? Hugh Hefner. Oh yeah, Huey. So I met Hugh Hefner. So one of the girls invited me to me. Yeah, that's how I met her. Hugh Hefner asked me to find chicks, and at that time I had been introduced to a thing called MySpace.
Yeah.
And there was like me, Tom, and like 14 other people. There was like there was hardly anybody there. Yeah, and I remember, like I said, hey, I'm on this thing that's kind of booming now, and I remember there was thousands of people there now, and I was like, cool, I'll find somebody here. So I started looking around, and at that time, I remember thinking, if I meet someone on Facebook, I thought it was my obligation to go meet them in person. So I would try to meet everyone to go try to meet them. So I said, I've met a lot of girls on here that I've been working with. Maybe I'll ask them. So I had met a couple of chicks on there, and I told them, like, hey, I'm looking for girls to be villains to fight Barbed Wire in an upcoming comic. Would you be interested? They said, sure. I started talking to a bunch of these chicks, and they were okay. And, they just kind of were more about like, they wanted to meet Hugh Hefner. And I was like, dude, you're not going to meet him. This has nothing to do with him. At this point, we're talking to somebody else named like Jeff, and so you're not going to be talking to Hugh anymore. So these girls were they were like, well, whatever. So I looked on their friends lists and came across other girls. And there was one little face that shined, and it's this one. Come in here. Look, that one. And I saw this girl. She had black hair and two blonde streaks in the front, and she was just staring at camera. And I go, dude, she looks like she could be a pretty good villain. So I contacted her. She was local. We start talking. We meet up. Next thing I know, we meet at a Chili's, and right by our house. And I started telling her, you're a lot different. You're a lot more than I expect. Not to sound offensive, but from all the other chicks I've been talking to, you seem a lot more ambitious. You got your shit together. You seem pretty smart. I'm not saying that they were dumb. I'm just saying that you seem to have a little more goal oriented here. I asked her one question. I said, would you rather be in a magazine or on the cover? And she said, I'd rather be on the cover of my own. And I'm all, fuck yeah, you're my partner. So we partnered up. And I told her, look, you help me with my business, and we'll do things together, and we'll just make this thing happen. And for the last 17 years, and she's been running Wongo Wear, which turned into Guerrilla Enterprises. And Guerrilla Enterprises has been Guerrilla Nation. So it's Guerrilla Enterprises all together. But she's been, all the social media. The reason that you even heard me is because she's all, here, get on here. So, okay. The reason I'm here now, she's like, here, get on here. Oh, okay. I'm just the pencil. I've become just the pencil. But when we first hooked up, she saw how many IPs I had. She's like, you have a lot of content. And I said, well,
Yeah.
content is gold, as
Yeah.
long as we have this, we'll be okay. And we've been just building it since we've been hooked up. We've been just building our roster. And we own, let me see, pull my water. Uh, this is my little guy, Sparky. I don't know if can you see him? This little guy, Sparky?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, Disney came out with Toy Story 4, and they had Forky. And they came after our character for a minute, and I shut them down. We both said no, and they were like pissed. Oh, no one says no to Disney, and say, why would you say no? It's like, dude, this is our character. I'm working on this. I've been working on this for a long time. I'm an artist. I'm not here for the money. They ask, what's your price? I go, dude, it's not a price. This is my child. I've created this.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, as a child right now, he was asked to be a mascot for this semester at Kansas State. So he's literally at school. My child is at school right now.
That's fucking wild.
He's by creation. And a lot of the people that have done what Disney would like to have done with mine is they buy your property and they'll shelve it and keep your name. But you're no longer allowed to work on your project. You can't work on your drawings. Now, I've worked on this thing for like 20 years. And there's no way. And it's just been my side project just for fun, knowing that someday I would do something with this. My idea was one time to have a cartoon. And because I was playing a lot of PlayStation back then, Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, stuff like that. I liked that stuff. And I thought it would be cool to watch a cartoon and just pick up a controller and just go and free roam. And I was starting to talk to people about being able to do that back then when I started Sparky. And it was a concept where it first started off with as a website. And this is kind of where my metaverse now starts to build. And NFTs are going to give me this opportunity. Is that I wanted a place where I can invite artists to come showcase their artwork and come look at my artwork and work together and hang out and do things, but also to help me build a game somewhere we can go and do things, So this new format of NFTs has kind of been very, it's new to us and it's kind of scary. I'll tell you that right now. It's like all of a sudden, it's moving so fast. It's moving so quick that if you like just sleep on something for a day, all of a sudden, so and so, da 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 da. It's like, what happened? So and so happened. This happened. It's like, man, it's a constant thing. I told Meg when we got on the scene of the NFTs, it was a moving train. We jumped on a moving train. It's moving really fast, and now that we're on it, we just got to find a place to sit. And so what we're doing is like now when we were on that actual space where you heard us. I told Meg when I heard of the NFT, I thought it was great because it was like, okay, your provenance, you could actually have it locked down in some blockchain and it says, oh, this guy drew this at this time. And sort of what we've been doing since Meg and I have gotten hooked up, she's been recording me and posting ever since since MySpace. She's been posting our characters. She put us on IMDb. Why? Because she knew that someday we're going to have to prove how far back we go. And so we've been doing that. So we've had Sparky for years. And Sparky's our video game, is our cartoon. And how it was going to be is where at first was going to be a website, of course, and then I thought, well, it could be a YouTube channel and then people can go here and But the basic beginning was where it was a cartoon that you can run around in. And then it evolved. That came from the website thing that I started at FM Rocks. And then now, I have to explain what Sparky is. It's a little character, my little guy. He comes into crash lands into a comic book store. And the website was going to be the smashed alien ship in a view of a comic book store and all these busted up comics. The reason that we have so many IPs is that I didn't want to pay for like Spider-Man or Superman or any of that shit. So I started to make up the Custodian, El Murciélago Man. And Murciélago is bat in Spanish. So it was a Murciélago Man and things like that. I was making up weird things. We started to make up fake comics. And then I started telling my friends, hey, listen, put your comic here and a link, and then people can click it and then go to you. So I wanted it to be a hub or a portal to go to other spots and places for my friends. So that concept was kind of like, man, I started talking to a guy. He was a computer guy. We won't see him for a while. He was on a 10-hour standoff with the police, and he's in prison forever now. But anyways, that's a side point. That guy, when he was out, he was really smart and he really had his shit together. He actually was doing stuff for Hugh Hefner and the government because he was doing, he was helping track down predators. And so he's really good at coding. He was a great coder, but he just, alcohol took the best of him and took his mind. So he went a little bonkers.
I'm a recovered heroin addict. Like it's like that. I've been sober for 8 years. Like that's that.
11 over here, bro.
Dude, I fucking rock on, man. That's sick.
11.
That's
Yeah,
sick,
that's
dude.
good. 11 years we've been clean and sober. At least Meg's been over to that, but she started it. But there was a time where we were in a tailspin. Joe Walsh says it in this one thing of the Eagles that that life is a series of chaotic events, that random events are smashing into each other that make no sense and shit. But then
Yeah.
later on in life, when you look back at that time, it looks like a finely crafted novel. It looks
Yeah.
like it had to happen. All the chaos and craziness had to occur for the
Yeah.
shit to have to be
Had to.
available now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing that Jason, when I started talking to him about what would be perceived now, I didn't know the term at the time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
metaverse. I was telling
Yeah.
him, what I'd like to do. I was talking at the time about I wish that there was artists that could like just look at me, look at my style, and say, hey, I can draw that too, and say, cool, you handle this, I'll handle that, and we work together and we make a project together. Great. And I was telling him, isn't there a program? Can't we write a program where it could get all of my images, study that, get a pretty much an algorithm that would say this guy draws in this particular way, and
Yeah.
then I say type in new cat, and then all of a sudden, after looking at all my Mafia cats, I have 300 and something of them. It could say, oh, okay, I can make a new one based upon the existent ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
telling him this stuff, and he was telling me, he goes, oh man. And I was telling him about how, it'd be great to have a video game where I could play and to go and meet somebody else, because the internet's all available. And he was telling me, he goes, what you're talking about, you need a zettabyte I'm a zettabyte, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is a zettabyte? It's huge. And he goes, and the amount of power that you would need to run something like that. I said, dude, there's a big glowing ball in the sky. My brother
Yeah.
was doing solar panels. I go, bro, we can just hook that bad boy up. I'm pretty sure that that's all day. And then,
Yeah.
we can, we don't have to run it on the grid. We can
Yeah.
be off grid for at least the majority of the day. So he was saying that, possibly could work and stuff at the time. And that was like, when was Jason free?
It was my 31st birthday.
Yeah, it's like that. So I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute. And since then, we've been in and out trying different projects, but still building the concept that this would eventually, everything we're working on right now would eventually somehow interlink. Going back to the Sparky comic book crash.
Yeah.
Now what he has when he gets there in the cartoon, he crash lands there. He meets me, Meg, and all my friends. We're in Silverback Comics, and none of us are surprised by an alien. We're like, finally, he shows up and like,
That damn time. Yeah.
yeah. He's like, and finally, like he shows up. He's like, hey, hello, soft and squishy beans. My name is Sparky from the planet of sharp and pointy things. I'm here to save my father, who's being held by a notorious red stick. And they're all, will you help me? And they're like, yes. So that was the beginning. And so he starts to introduce them to the tech that he has. His spaceship was a smart ship. So he would turn to that ship for answers, but on his entry to Earth, a NASA toilet hit and busted his CPU. So now the computer wants what it did when it crashed, it scanned all the comics on the floor, therefore taking all the information and then asking for particular parts from each comic, therefore making it a game where you'd have to go and jump in every comic. How do you get in there? Sparky whips out his portable porthole, which he calls his little peepee, and he flings it on comics or screens, on a poster, whatever, and he's able to jump in. And he has the ability to teleport in. My little character, when I created him, I wanted to create something that would never get hurt or die or be injured in any way, shape, or form. So anytime anyone's ever asked me, so what's his limitations? I'm like, there's no limitations to my character. As long as I'm alive, he'll be alive. And he could walk on the sun. He'll just tell you it's stinky and hot. It's very loud and lonely, but he can walk on the sun. And Superman can hit him with a laser beam. It'll probably just tickle him. It doesn't bother him. It will go right through him. He is a special type of character and creature that I've thought of. And, his parents they were protectors of the realm, and they were chasing dark matter, which is the villain of the realm. And Red Stick, Commander Cleaver, and Fancy Forks were the three protectors of the realms. Fancy Forks and Commander Cleaver being Sparky's parents, Red Stick being the godfather. Them three were protecting the realm. Something occurred. We'll get to that later. It's a long story. But in that realm, Red Stick and Cleaver crash land here on Earth during a chase. That's how they end up here. Red Stick is kind of, think of Megamind. He loves the flash and pizzazz, and he understands that he knows that he's like a superior being, but he doesn't want to. He likes it here on Earth. He likes being a celebrity. He's like all of a sudden like roasting tournaments. He becomes a celebrity, and then the premise is that all mascots here on Earth are technically aliens. He ends up being the mascot for the Cheesy Cheese Corp, and it's a, yeah. So he
Dig it.
and yeah. So we have a bunch of different little things, and of course, because I come from Family Guy, a lot of my uh, characters and a lot of parodies are involved. I'm a big fan of Mel Brooks, so a lot of things that I do are parodies. I never really do dead on. And when I was at Family Guy, we were supposed to draw the characters of like I drew Bugs Bunny, or I drew the Lucky Charms guy. I do cool. I did somebody got really in trouble. I think Bugs Bunny was the one I got in trouble for. Oh, and Tinkerbell. I got in trouble for that because they told me you got to be altered 25% for this to go through. And I said, okay, well, what's 25%? And they tell me, oh, you got to change that. Oh, this many things? Great. So I would just tweak just enough to make it Family Guy. And it was the eyes, the lips, particular hand positions, things like that. And, I would get in trouble all the time. And I'd say, hey, man, I'm within the realm. And I was always pushing it, just pushing it. Because I think it's funny to push it. Right now in our cartoon about weed, Buddy, the weed smoking skunk, the restaurant in there is called In-N-Outy because here in California, that's where we're at. In-N-Out's popular, but we don't want to, they don't have the rights to use their name. And like on my bear, Oso Olympico, he wears Mikey's because that's my name, Mike. So he wears Mikey's and so, I do things like that. And I anything. So
that's awesome.
In an effort to kind of be prepared for the metaverse, I always think, I was telling Meg, eventually it will happen that once something is alive and active, NFTs or not, there's somehow, somewhere, advertisers are going to want in. And right now, we just started making Oso Olympico. It's about a bear who wants to compete to be the best of the best of the best. We have him out and about. We can get to him later. But anyways, that guy, I drew him coming down a go-kart because we want to do one of our first. We just got our realm. We bought a deed to. We're in a plasma world in Leapton, and so we want to start building our metaverse. So the first thing I want to do is I want to build like a museum or a gallery where I can showcase all my artwork and invite others to come in and showcase their NFTs and try to sell them. Other artists that won't have an opportunity to have a place to show. I also to meet them. I want to meet other artists because when I worked at the Simpsons and Family Guy, I got to work alongside of the best. Paul Wee at the Simpsons, Bill Edwards at Family Guy. These guys were like, I mean, man, I got to tell you, when you think you're good and you sit next to somebody like that, you're like, damn, you start feeling like shit, dude. I don't know nothing, and these guys are like on it. And I mean, it was when they say natural talent, the God-given talent, like these guys were double touched, like, man, these guys got it, bro. Yeah. And so when I was at Family Guy, I would always just try my best to emulate Bill. I was like, sitting and watch what he did, and I was like, fuck, I watch his strokes and look at like how his movement was and how he was thinking. I go, okay, I gotta watch him. I gotta do this. And at first he was like, what are you doing, man? I go, hey, man, I'm just watching your style, homeboy. You got it down. And technically, he's the one that molded Family Guy into the look that was at, from when the first pilot episode and it started to evolve by the end of the first season, second season, that was kind of the lockdown look. Yeah. By the third season, they took Peter's glasses off. I think when I left, they took his glasses off. But he had locked it down pretty good. All the characters were really good. Everyone that you saw that was spoofed out during the pilot first season, second and third was Bill Edwards. After that, after we bailed, I don't know if we stopped watching the show. I have to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever really watched my shows. Only after they aired the first time, The one I did watch was my first ever Simpsons, and I threw a little Simpson party at my house in the West Side because when I was a kid, I promised my mom. I was always doodling, and all my mom's friends, cousins, everyone was always, he's a big guy. Get him to be a mechanic, a carpenter. Get him to construction. Yeah. And my mom was like, hey, when he's sitting there drawing, he's not fighting anybody. He's not getting in trouble. He's not running around with his homeboys. He's just sitting here right in front of me, bothering nobody. So they would leave me alone. So my parents were very encouraging. So my mom, I told her, Mom, one of these days I'm going to make these things move. And I had drawn. It got taken. It's got jacked up. My mom put it in a storage thing where she thought to be safe, but it got taken. But my first drawing of The Simpsons, I gave to her and signed it. I told you so, Mom. Love you, Michael. Yeah. And we put it and framed it right next to the drawing that I drew when I was a kid. I think it was a Peanuts gang. It was Charlie Brown and Snoopy, really old. And I said, someday I'll make them move. And it's because I was so determined at that time to do it. And I did. And the drawings are irrelevant. The look on my parents' face to watch like my scenes, and then at the end, like when my name was at the credits, and this was before they would like smush it off to the side and roll them really fast. Because after they air it one time, after that, the Fox would just like, oh, no one needs to see the credits after this. And then all of a sudden they smash it off to the side. But the first time that it airs, they run the full credits, and we were recording, VHS at that time. We were recording it. I'll never forget that. And then just we played it, and we recorded it. We played it again to the credits, and we paused it. And the look on my parents' face, it was just like, there's just no words, there's nothing that could ever replace that. So standing in front of that, standing in front of that studio and asking for help and just taking the chance. Look, I know it was unorthodox to do that way, but it was worth it. I took a chance. I had nothing to lose. I had everything to gain, and I gained it because I took that chance. I took a leap. Sometimes, you just gotta go for it. And I know that as an artist, even to this day, Meg will tell you, I everything I put out, I second guess. Like, dude, I don't know about this. This doesn't look right. Everything, anything that I've even posted recently, I've like, you know how many times I get so mad and frustrated because it just doesn't look the way I think it should look. In March, I transitioned. Well, it was April Fool's actually. I decided to go paperless and go digital fully. And,
I just saw that video on your Twitter when it showed you going from like paper to digital, like that TikTok video. Yeah.
That and everything after that's been pretty much on digital. The only thing I drew on paper was I think a dog, because somebody wanted to see it done, and they asked me a favor. So I was like, okay, but it was just something weird that I used it to my advantage. That dog's now part of the Oso Olympico realm. So everything I draw, like now, anything that I'm putting, it's usually somehow is going to be related to an existing cartoon or an IP that I have, but that we eventually would like. Right now we're starting to mint them into NFTs. So we could have, I'd love to have a gallery. Like right now, the reason that we jumped into this is because I can talk to coding, people that do backgrounds, people that do characters, that do environments, all this stuff. And maybe they don't have anything to work on right now, but I'm always willing to share with what I have. I just want to make it. Meg gets mad at me. She's like, dude, you can't be told that stuff. I go, hey man, whatever. I've done a lot of projects with people where it's just on a handshake. Meowfia, the video game we have. When I worked at The Simpsons, I thought it was funny that Bart would watch Itchy and Scratchy. I thought that was hilarious, that they would watch such a violent cartoon. So I said, when I make my cartoon, I'm going to have something like that. So the video game that we play at Silverback Comics is Meowfia, the Cat Mafia, the rise and fall of John Gatto. And you have 9 lives to try to take down John Gatto, and it's pretty much Grand Theft Auto in cat form. So you're running around just doing a bunch of hood rat shit, but Meg and it's evolved to the point where the Grand Theft Auto people are always just beating up the non-players, and I'm not with it because it's
playable characters.
I'm not cool with them. People are just getting beat up randomly, so I changed it up. So I was telling her that in Sparky realm, he jumps into that game. It's to collect something, and it's a very dangerous place. Talking about Ready Player One, that would be my Planet Doom. You go in there to get money, but you could also get hurt and you could also lose. So, and mind you have 9 lives, and every time you die in my game, you come back a little older. By your 9th life, you're a really old cat, and the death cat starts to follow you. And once that death cat's around you and stuff, you pretty much know it. You have to start using your wits and cannot get engaged in another battle because, by that time you better have some kind of clout. That's in my game.
I love that, man. I love that. So I mean, but what's wild about this space, man, is that like you mentioned a little earlier, this space is I think because this is the one thing there's not many things as people on a big planet like Earth that we can agree upon, but this is one of the first things that's pretty like we agree on it, so it's global. It's literally a 24-hour a day industry. Like it's one thing that like was mesmerizing to me, because like when I came in, I'm not sure if you've heard about this story, but like when I came in, it was around the artist named Beeple. It was a digital artist, and he sold this NFT, this JPEG, for like $69 million, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, man?
Oh,
like,
is that the guy with all the 13 years of photographs?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I had heard, and that's when me and Meg, I'm like, what is this? You should look into this, and I didn't know anything about that. So
I actually wrote a Twitter thread on it, but like is part of my journey into it, because I I remember sitting in that Clubhouse room. So I didn't have an iPhone until like about a month ago, but I had an iPad and Clubhouse. You know what the Clubhouse is. Do you know what Clubhouse is?
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
They
It's like
talked about it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like an audio. It's basically like Twitter Spaces, but it's its own app. Like
Yeah.
it's like its own app. It's actually where Twitter Spaces got its idea from. But there was this Clubhouse chat, and there was this tech influencer, an entrepreneur, an investor, and he had the buyers of this piece on that Clubhouse, and he also had a really big artist named Justin Blau that was in the that was one of the pioneers of NFTs and music as well. And they had like a couple other co-founders. It was just this wild thing where this guy named Metacoven, which the purchaser of this NFT, was like describing like this like interactive world, this metaverse where everyone was the custodian of their own money, and no government or no one could take anything that they created, and everything was like everyone was able to find one place where they could all agree upon. And I just remember thinking, like, I probably paraphrased the fuck out of that and probably really very bad, but all I remember is how it made me feel. Like all I remember is how, like, that's really, at the end of the day, it's really what matters, right? Like it's really about the feeling that it had. And I'm just like, okay, this is like not nothing, right? This is something here. Yeah, this is too big for me to like not like. This is too big for me to ignore. You know what
Well,
I mean?
how much did he sell that one NFT for?
69 million.
69 million. Now, we recently had this guy who was our investor. They're trying to
Yeah,
be our investor.
yeah,
And he was
yeah,
trying to get money from these guys across in Saudi Arabia and stuff. And I
yeah,
was like, yeah, okay, whatever. We told him that we were getting into the NFT realm. And this is when we knew that we had to kind of sever ties with the guy. Because
yeah,
he said, this NFT thing is kind of a hula hoop. It's going to fade away. I'm like, dude, if you believe that shit, then you're out, homeboy.
yeah, yep,
Years ago, when me and Meg were working on first starting Meowfia, and we wanted to make the video game and all that stuff, we started thinking, how can we finance this? So we thought, well, what if we make like a reality show or like a mockumentary, so it looks like like a fake, a reality show.
yeah,
We
yeah,
talked to some people at Fox and all these people, these guys, you know what? It's a hoop. It's never going to happen. I go, dude, the Osbournes are popping right now, man. It's going to happen. But no, they're going to fade away. It's not going to happen. It's a hula hoop. Then the Kardashians pop off, and like all the people that I talked to them, like, dude, what happened? They're all, yeah, I guess we were wrong. I'm like, yeah, well, see, this is my fault. Never will I listen to anyone that does not take into like look at the future of where everything is going.
yeah,
If you're too busy looking back, bro, you're going to trip and you're never going to go
yeah,
forward.
yeah,
You're too busy looking
yeah,
back. So I told Meg, you know what's behind us? The whole thing, like, yeah, I drew for the Simpsons and Family Guy. That's cool, but that has nothing to do with NFTs and stuff. I'm not going to draw Simpsons. I ain't going to draw Family Guy here. I'm trying to
yeah,
get my stuff out. I'm trying to meet other artists. I want to work and collab with other artists. Right now, we hooked up with this guy, Chirac, bitching, the most amazing 3D artist I've worked with in a long time. Since back at the Barnyard. That's
yeah,
how long it's been since I've worked with a good ass 3D artist. And this guy's in India. We found each other on spaces like this,
yeah,
doing NFTs.
yeah,
I think the guy's name is Acid that we were talking to at one night. This guy Shirag reached out to us. We saw his work. Next thing you know, I wrote him into the game as he's from Mumbai, so he's the leader of the Mumbai Mafia, and he's in 3D. So of course, his calling card is the Death Mask, a 3D
yeah,
Death Mask and stuff. So we
yeah,
did this
yeah,
whole little
yeah,
character. I drew him up, and he's turned him into an actual NFT 3D model of himself. We're
yeah,
now getting it to the point we're rigging it. So now that we bought our LinkedIn, we're gonna try to run around our space with our own NFT character and see how we can invite people to come and like see what we're planning to do. So right now, that's what we're working on now. I'm trying to, like I said, working with coders. I have a friend, his buddy he's got some kind of he works with an incubator, and all these guys are coders and programmers and do some kind of game. And I think they work
yeah,
on via wherever they do, I think Fortnite or one of those
yeah,
big games, a Halo, one of the two. But they apparently like to make their own stuff on the side. Like I made a cute environment they're never going to use in Halo.
yeah,
They're never going
yeah,
to use in these things, but they made like a beautiful Oasis looking thing. And like, hey, bro, if you're not going to use it, maybe we could showcase it over here. Maybe you could sell it as an NFT. So,
yeah,
I'm starting to talk to people like that, and some people are getting a little more interested. So we're starting to build a little more relationships with other artists because I was there at one time. I was afraid, I guess, at one time to try.
mm,
I don't know. Maybe I was or wasn't. I can never say I was afraid to try anything in art, but I knew the fear of like it's like driving. I knew I had to do it.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
afraid to do it, but I ended up doing it. Now, mind you, when I learned to drive, I was about 10 years old. But that was beside the point. I had to do it.
Yeah.
But it was, I was scared. But it's kind of the same thing. Learning stick shift, it was kind of like this is kind of freaky when I get on hill. I can hit somebody. I can run
Yeah.
somebody off. I don't know. I could stall
Yeah.
out. It's just a little bit of fear, but excitement at the same time. Like I'm learning
Mm.
something new here,
Mm.
but it's not to my disadvantage. I'm going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So, but there's some artists that I've talked to. I used to go to schools with Meg. We used to go talk to these high school kids, a lot of troubled kids that were like having
Yeah.
issues, and I would tell them like, "Hey, I was just like you, homie. I wasn't doing good at school. I literally graduated
Yeah.
half a credit over, and the reason I graduated was to spite my principal from my junior high, because that dude told me you'd be dead or in jail by the time you were 18. He told me that to my face, and I told him, I go, "Is
Mm.
that right?" I go, "We'll see about that." So, but I got a mock-up invitation to my graduation. You only get one sample, so you can order it.
Yeah.
I just took that one and I walked it over to the junior high, walked right into his office. Now, mind you, years had passed. The guy I got into a fist fight with this guy, full on fist fight. The
Wow.
police were called and everything. So I walked into his office. Now, by that time, I'm like 2 feet taller and probably another pound, 100 pounds heavier. So now all of a sudden, like a 350 pounder walks in at 6'1", and all of a sudden, like I'm looking him dead in the eye. I'm like, "Do you remember me?" And he stood up and stood behind his chair, and he's like, "Yeah, I remember you." I'm like, "You said I'd be dead or in jail by the time I was 16 or 15." I'm all, "Here, I graduated like month and whatever it was, in a month." And I threw it on his desk, and "I'll see you there." And I walked out.
Yeah.
At my graduation, as I was walking to my car, he's standing right next to my car. He's standing right next to it. And I'm like, "Shit, this guy's going to fight me for the whole time." Because we fought, literally fist fought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, shit, okay, this guy hasn't finished business with me. So, it's all right. Fuck it. We don't have to knuckle up. Let's do this. So I start walking towards him, and I'm like, "What's up, homie?" And then he opens his trunk. So I'm thinking, oh, shit, this is in the 80s. Back then you pop a trunk and Uzi's coming out. I was like, shit. And I won't lie to you. Back then, everyone was strapped. I was strapped. Everyone was always strapped. But my gun was in the car. So I was like, shit.
Yeah.
So I see him pop the trunk. Like, oh, this is going to be bad. And he pulls out 2 shot glasses and a bottle. And he's like, "Come here." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, cool. So what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, I was wrong about you." And he goes, "I only told you that to motivate you," which was bullshit. I call bullshit on that. But he said he did it to motivate me. But it was he was proud of me for graduating. And he said that, anyone that could, do what I did, that he talked to my counselor, and because he didn't believe me. He didn't believe that I was going to graduate. He went and talked to my counselor and said, "Hey, this guy really graduated?" He goes, "Yeah, he just barely made it."
Yeah.
I went to night school. I went to ROP, work experience. I used to go open Gold's Gym at 5 in the morning. No, at 4:30. So the 5 o'clock crew could come in there. So I had to clean up, get everything ready for Joe, this guy that owned the place. I'd have to open the gym, and then he would sign off. I'd have to be done by, say, by 6. Then I'd have to go to the school and go to the gym there and work out there. I had 00 period. I had all that shit so I could graduate because of this guy. He forced me to get, because when they told me you're not going to graduate, I said, bullshit. And I knew I was going to do it, and I did. I passed with a half a credit, and that's something I'm very proud of. And
man.
the moment that dude, he did give me a drink, and he called. He said, "Hey, man, we had a little shot and everything," and I thought that was pretty cool. And he told me, he goes, "You know what? You have the tenacity and the ability to do whatever you want, especially when you're pushed." He goes, "You no matter what obstacle's been placed ahead of you, you've always either just barreled through it or found your way around it. So, you should really, really pursue what you want to do." And I said, "Fuck, that's a pretty good little speech." So I said, "All right, cool." And I tried college for a while after that. And to be honest with you, I tried the military, but they FU'd me, or F4, F6, whatever they do. They FU'd me. They told me to fuck off. And they said, "No, we don't want you." And I said, "All right, cool." So I tried college. And you know what I learned in college? That they can't teach me shit. I tested out of every art class. They wanted me to take all these weird classes that were mandatory. Like, "Oh, you need this for the university." I was like, dude, I just wanted to learn how to do animation, bro. I just wanted cartoons. I took that animation course, and you guys kicked me out. So the one thing that I did learn there was I was already printing T-shirts because of my godfather. He was already doing I was just doing artwork for him. I started. That's when I started doing my own printing. I took screen printing there at Fullerton College. Go Hornets! Woo! And I played football there. And I was having fun at Fullerton College. It was college life. I met my wife there, and that was pretty cool. She's around.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, and it was great. It was a cool thing because I learned how to do shirts. And again, then it's when I knew I could make my characters and showcase them at least on T-shirts. And then I got into PacSun and Miller's Outpost and all these different places. It was pretty cool. I was all over the place for a while. Yeah. And then I just went on my journey, and here I am at the NFT world. And I look at the idea that when I first started drawing my characters for Wongware and all that stuff, I never thought that I would need, but I have the file dates. Well, some of them are so old I can't even open the files because they were back in the early 90s. Back then I was on Corel Draw and playing Doom. So, I was doing everything on the computer back then. So some of the files got dusted out, but I knew that I needed to start archiving a lot of the stuff. So I have artwork that I've hand drawn and put in the computer since the 90s. So I said, there's so much of it. There's so much of it that there's no place I can showcase this. And then NFT World shows up, man. And I was like, dude, this is our place right here. It's a game changer big time. And then watching, I'm a big fan of Ready Player One. I'm telling you, I see that is happening. That's going to happen. Not too long ago when we started getting into NFTs, prior to that, I was reading about how Sims, people that they were selling real estate, and they parceled out the world to 64 parcels. And I'm all, the world? I'm like, there's a sky up there. What the fuck? And let's do it. I want the Milky Way. You know what? I'll take half the universe right now. It's just what's going on in my mind. So I was telling Megan, you know what? I'm not the only one thinking this. There's no way. They're thinking small potatoes. They're thinking, oh, you get a whole parcel of the world, and you can go visit India, or you can go visit the Hawaii.
But it's a stepping stone. It was a stepping stone. Yeah.
But in my mind, it's like, this was at the exact same time I was hearing about NFTs. So in my mind, I'm thinking, that's going to be old. It's when you start hearing. I remember when everyone was buying videotape machines for their home, and they were called Beta. And then I saw VHS, and I said, dude, don't buy any more Betas. That's it. Beta's out. Like, why? I said, dude, how many people are buying 8-tracks? At that time, we were buying cassettes. There's the big thing called an 8-track. There was no one was buying 8-tracks. The AM radio was dying out. Evolution, things started going when MTV came out. I'll never forget when that came out. When that came out, I said, dude, this is it. The music's going to change. When videos started coming out, and then cartoon videos started showing up. Like, you see the animation, the graphics, motion that was happening in there. The Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love, that's all done in animation. As movies started to go in, even like in the 80s and 90s, there was a John Cusack movie, I think, called One Crazy Summer, where he's an artist animator, and they're doing which technically at that time was like Ren and Stimpy style cartoons inside in that actual movies and stuff. So there's a lot of animation that just never stopped in my life. And I knew back then in the early 80s and 90s that eventually we're going to be Tron. We're going to be in the game. And here we are. And I think that's where NFTs are at right now. I think this is where we're, like you said, that stepping stone of this parceling of the world is a small stepping stone. But in the right direction, but when you see how fast everything's moving,
and it's insane, man. I mean, it's the space moves at like an insane amount, but as insane rate. But at the same time, though, there's still I still think we're really, like with how, I mean, it's hard to tell like where it's going to be in 5 to 10 years, but we're still very, 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 very early. I know it's a meme. I know it's like, people say it's a shit post sometimes, but it's really true. I mean, because you still look at, we have this crazy imagination, and I almost look at like this, the way I've grown, like in my own sobriety, is that like, I've had this profound experience that like, where I don't have to smoke heroin off tinfoil anymore, and like, I've had this revolutionary change in the way I've thought. And then like, I've had all this crazy experience, but like the world is still going on without me. Like the world's still like, it's still doing its thing. And like, I'm just like, wait, how can you not see this? And everyone that is like, that I knew that was trying to get sober, I'm like, you got to fucking hear about this way I got sober, man. Like, you got to do this. And they're just like, bro, like, get the fuck back. Like, we don't need to hear that. Like it. So a lot of, there's some weird parallels in both of these worlds. It's just like, we have this like incredible energy that a lot of it's very, and to tell you the truth, like it's protected by the right people. Like this community is really, really strong, but instead of like convincing people that it needs to happen, like it's an uphill battle that you're never going to win. Like where I think that we win here is just by simply showing, like, this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Because like,
telling Meg, we have to show. It's proof is in the pudding at this point. You have to. It's like the only way anyone will ever see, like the Wright brothers. Like, hey, that thing will fly. Bullshit. Okay, fuck it. And then it goes up in the sky. Oh shit, look at that! It flew. When you see it, all of a sudden it's a reality. So I know that I know what you're saying. And by the way, if I didn't congratulate on your sobriety, congratulations on that, bro. That's a
Thank you,
long
man.
time,
Yeah,
man. I have a friend of mine who's still struggling right now, and
dude.
I watched as a kid. He was a good kid, and right now he's trying his best. He's asking me for advice on this, and I told him, I said, bro, I don't know how to advise you on this because my journey is so. I tried as an artist when I was in high school into a lot of things by my older cousins, and
Yeah,
I got
yeah, yeah.
involved in drugs at an early age. So I was part of it, and it went through, and it was sort of like just a thing to do. We were doing it way. I mean, I was partying all the way up into my 40s,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you name
yeah.
it, I've tried it. The only drug I've never fucked with it is because it was offensive to me was crack. And it's because I was a coke dealer for one time, and I hate to say it, I was in distribution of high-end entertainment for exclusive and private clientele.
Hey, man.
So,
Dude, that's
but anyways,
wild. Yeah.
I remember seeing people bake that stuff, and I was so offended by what they were doing to my good. I thought, it's like, hey, I have a good product. What are you doing to it? But I saw what they were doing, and it got a little wild. But my journey, I got so you got to understand my life went to this crazy realm after me and Meg came to my life. We were doing very well. We were doing T-shirts. We had skateboards, and we were doing a skateboard line with Alliance Skateboards. We had them in
Yeah.
Costco. We were doing a bunch of cool stuff. Crazy thing happened to my family. My brother and cousin were arrested for something, murder, and it was like a thing that all of a sudden it just collapsed. Everything started to collapse because I started forking out money and not paying attention to my business or investing in
Yeah.
us. I started investing in trying to save the family name and reputation. Those two assholes were responsible. My cousin did do what he did. My brother didn't tell. So my brother served 9 years, and in those 9 years, apparently I'm an emotional eater. I ballooned up to over 555 pounds. I was huge,
Wow.
bro. So gorilla, I was a real gorilla size, dude. I was
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
And at one time, Meg had cut her finger, and she was, and we went to the hospital. I called my wife and said, Meg hurt herself. We're at the, I'll be here with her until we figure this thing out. And I hung up the phone, and we're sitting in this little room, and I heard myself snoring while awake. And I told him, dude, am I snoring while awake? She's like, yeah. I'm like, how long have I been doing this? She's like, for like months. I'm like, fuck. So shortly thereafter,
Wow.
we moved to the marina. We moved from the west. We were in the west side. We just moved closer to the beach. And Gold's Gym was like a mile and a half away. And I said, I'm gonna start riding a bike. I used to love riding bikes as a kid. I'm gonna start riding a bike. So I got me a beach cruiser. First day I got on that thing, I literally got off the sidewalk and all the smoke shot out like weapons. Boom! They just shot everywhere. The rims collapsed. I mean, it was awful. I ended up throwing that thing on my shoulder, walking down to the bike store and telling them, "Wait, I need rims that can hold my weight." So they found me these things for like snow tires. They found these really double enforced rims. So I built Frankenstein, my bike, and I started riding it to the gym, and then I lost 265 pounds just riding my bike, and but in that bike ride, sobriety started to come in because I knew that I needed to change my life. I was at that weight. I started telling my wife, Meg's here. If anything happens to me, you guys look after each other. Meg knows the business. You have all the, you guys know what to do. I was already making plans like I was going to go, and it's like, and then I started losing the weight and stuff, and I started thinking, I'm not going to leave these two bitches by themselves. They're not going to have fun without me. No way, I'm sticking around. So I started to lose. I lost all that weight. I didn't mean to. And the funny thing about that is that we were living in this building in the marina, and in there, the contestants for The Biggest Loser, the Fat Camp, that show,
Yeah.
they were the pre-contestants were in that building because they didn't want anyone to die on set. They were training them for the workouts that were
Wow.
going to be on the show. So they wanted to make sure they were going to die on camera. So they had a fat camp to qualify to go into the Biggest Loser. So they were in our building, and I was just as big as those guys. So I wasn't part of the regiment. So they had their strict diets, and they marched down the street together and to their little gym. And they'd see my fat ass on a bike rolling past them eating a hamburger or a donut or a piece of pizza. And I was just living my life. And, I had lost all that weight, and I was hanging out at Venice Beach, and everyone thought I was homeless. And then I swear to God, everyone thought I was homeless because I didn't want to change my clothes. Everything got sun-beaten, and I'd lost so much weight. Everything was baggy. So I was chilling there, and I ended up meeting a lot of artists down there. And the guys that were graffitiing the walls, Duggo, who is a renowned artist down there. He unfortunately, drugs and stuff didn't do them any favors. You and I, at least to sit here and have this conversation, I don't know whatever happened to some of these guys, but there were tremendous talents that were an inspiration for the name that we gave ourselves for our handle, A Wasted Talent. Because when we were out there, I tell people, we're just nothing but a wasted talent out here. A bunch of us artists were hanging out, painting on buses or on walls and stuff, doing the graffiti walls with people. And it was kind of fun to be out doing cool shit and collabs with other artists out at the beach. And, it was kind of thinking like, maybe someday, there'll be something where we could put on like the VR glasses and maybe spray paint on some virtual walls and stuff, and which now exists, it's just awesome. And so, all these cool things that I thought of are happening for reals. But when I lost all that weight and I was down there, I was reminded as an artist that even though I was hanging out with these guys who were just as good as me, if not better, these guys were fucking good. We're hanging out there, and there was, I had a home, I had money, I was okay, but I just looked like them, and I was hanging out with them, so I would treat them to pizza and stuff. I was there with my friends, we would smoke weed and hang out. But one day, my buddy, we took in some homies that were homeless and prisoners. They're friends. They're friends of friends. And so the girl didn't like it, but I had two murderers living with us for a while. But they were friends of mine. They weren't going to kill us. They needed a place to live. So anyways, we had Smiley and Little one living with us. And it was great because I was trying to get them to not be homeless and trying to help them out. I felt like I was going to kind of give back a little bit of homie love to, things that to amends the things that I'd done. So I thought maybe I'll help these guys out. And we set up a tent one time, and we were at the skate park, and they were selling dream catchers, and we had put up I made some shirts for Maui and Son. It was a dog on a skateboard. He's just putting the V up, and it's just as Venice Beach, California. And I told Meg, that's our first NFT, because we started that dog, and all we did was keep changing the name from Newport to Venice Beach, Huntington Beach, Long Beach, and it all stayed the same, California, and it was the same dog. So technically that was our first official NFT. But anyways, when we were doing that, we were I remember riding my bike to the booth, and they were sitting there, and a bunch of people were looking around at their stuff. And on the way there, I saw a director's chair. They were filming something there, and someone left the director's chair, broke. And the backing of that thing was really nice and intact, and it was pretty good. It had a stain on it. And I saw it, I picked it up, and I thought, I didn't have a drawing pad with me, but I knew the guys had markers, and I didn't want to sit there and be bored. So I'm just going to take this and draw on it. So I took this piece of cloth, and I sat there, and the shape looked kind of like a fish. So I started to outline it. So I drew a koi fish. And as I'm drawing it, I colored it in, and it was just this drawing on a piece of trash. And this guy's like, hey, that's pretty cool, bro. He goes, how much you want for it? I'm like, you can have it, bro. And he goes, no, he'll sign it. Oh, he goes, I go, you can have it if you want it. And then my boy Smiley says, he used to draw for the Simpsons and Family Guy. So the guy's he just opens his wallet and he just says, I'll just here, take this. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'll pay for it. I'm like, why? He goes, because your name's going to be worth something. I go, maybe when I'm dead. And he goes, no. He goes, your name will be worth something. He goes, because you worked on those shows. I'm okay. And at that point, it's like, it was one of those weird, like, wow, that name of the show, Simpsons and Family Guy, that really that had a lot of weight to it. Because these guys that were sitting right next to me were doing some really good pieces on actual drawing paper and canvases. And this guy was willing to pay for trash. And he gave me $60. Now, mind you, I ended up spending it on weed and food for all the guys. And we all ended up having a good time with it because I'm like, dude, this is trash money. Let's get trashed. So we did. And it was fun and exciting. But that day was one of those days, like, I told Megan, something weird happened today. This guy offered me money for trash, and I told him the whole scenario. And he said something about, the name of being attached to something that big is going to have value. You will see it someday. Mm-hmm. And that day I actually saw it. Like, dude, you gave me $60 or something for a piece of trash. Yeah, there's value in that. And we try not to lead with it as much. I tried not to. Meg thinks that it's a good idea to tell people, hey, tell people that you drew for 2 international shows back to back without any formal training. That's an accomplishment. You got to tell people how you got in there. I was like, dude, to me, in my mind, like you said, it was unorthodox on how I got in. But to me, it was like going to get a job at McDonald's. You don't have to go show a portfolio. To me, it was a job. And then, mind you, because I was a business owner, when I got there, I was right. I came in, I punched the clock, I answered to someone. It was a job. So that was sort of like a bursting of my bubble too. It was like, oh dang, this is a job now. Before I'd get up at 10 o'clock, play PlayStation for like 4 hours, have my friends come over, we print some shirts, send them off to the store, get paid. Woo! It was easy. Go to conventions, things like that. We're always having fun and partying. Now all of a sudden I have to be at somewhere at a certain time. I have to meet a quota and all this stuff. And it was experiences and stuff like that that are very fun and exciting and have pushed me to where I am today. And I would like to share that stuff with people, but sometimes I was telling Meg, maybe it's going to discourage people but there's no more studios in this thing. I don't think there is. There's no need to have a studio when you have a metaverse or even like the internet now. We collabed with that guy in India on a handshake. He could steal my concept and run with it, but why? Why would he do that? I mean,
Yeah.
we're trying to make names for ourselves. We're trying to do something on a totally different place. This isn't TV. This isn't the movies. This is a totally different, like you said, Web3's coming. And I want to make sure that I want to be relevant and part of something new. I don't want to just be jumping in at the last minute. Hey, what's this all about? You know, I want to be like, hey, bro, come on, invite people over to what's happening. I want to be at the front. Like we watched Hamilton. Hey, we want to be in the room when it happens, bro. We want to see. We want to be part of the now. I'm 51. I feel like a kid still, and I don't want to stop feeling like a kid. You know, we watched that Ready Player One, and I keep referring to that thing. And the one thing about that movie that I love the most is at the very end, when that Callaway guy just turns around and just looks at the, he says, hey man, thanks for playing my game. That's all I've ever wanted. Now that's all I want. If for someone, it's for me to turn around, hey man, thanks for playing my game, or thanks for playing with me. I'm watching Squid Game right now. I just finished watching that. Hey, it's just like that old day. I don't want to be nothing like that, but I'm just saying, hey, thanks for playing. You know, people, that's my thing. I want to play. I just want to play games and interact with the artists. Like the feeling of being in an art room like I did in high school, or being at the beach with all those guys, other artists that we just start collabing and having fun and just like kicking out ideas and not really giving a shit. If it turns out to something cool. One time I was telling Meg this story in high school. Mr. Leverett, he was very, very, one of the best teachers you'll ever know. He's the only, actually, when I only interview I ever gave, I gave kudos to him when they asked me who my biggest inspiration was. I said it was Mr. Richard Leverett, and I gave that 500 North Bradford, Valencia High School. You know, I gave him my address to the high school I went to, and it's because he knew that if he tried to hinder our creative juices, that it would just come back and bite him in the ass. So anything we thought of, even it's obscure shit, like, hey, I think I want to weld something today. He'd be like, all right, well, let's figure this out. We can't do it here. Let's go figure this out. You know, he would go and contact the welding class over at the college and say, hey, my students want to try welding. And we'd go over there. And it's like, that's how he was. So he was always trying to like make us to, you know, be a better artist. One time I was always in trouble. And I would be sent to his classroom for detention. And I got into a fight because someone told me that someone had ruined a drawing I did. We were doing something and someone threw paint on something I'd done. So, you know, we squabbed it up and I got in trouble and I'd sit in this class. And I told Mr. Leverett one time, I said, you know, I don't know why I'm doing all this shit for. Everybody keeps telling me a mechanic or carpenter or I should do construction because I'm so big. I go haven't I ever heard of a starting artist that, you know, I'm never going to make money at this. And then I've told this story before. Yeah. He sat there eating a sandwich, looking me dead in the face. And he's all, I'm an artist and I'm not starving. And I'm like, holy shit. He goes, I draw every day too. And he goes, and I get paid for it. And I'm like, holy shit, I guess I could be a teacher. And he goes, you don't have, you know, there's a lot of, he goes, who do you think? He goes, when you go to restaurants and all the things, he's the one that showed me, like, you know, you can make money making kids menus, putting t-shirt designs together, making logos for schools, making logos for baseball teams or anything like that. He's like, you have the ability to draw characters if they want, do it. And he's the one that pushed me into that shit. True story. He had me draw something that I thought I was drawing a lot in pencil. And he said, I want you to draw something very spectacular, something that is going to blow my mind, something that you're going to be very proud of. And I said, okay, cool. I went and got a photograph of my parents' wedding. And when they're sitting in the car, they were in like 57 Chevy. And my dad and my mom were just staring at camera. And I drew it. And I was really good at portraits at that time. That's all I did was just portraits. I even got a job at the mall drawing celebrities. I draw and they make lithos. Yeah, I was doing that. So I was drawing, you know, really good, portraits. So I drew my parents and he thought that was cool. He goes, cool. So he tells me, you got to frame that. I'm like, shit. All right, cool. So we go to the frame store. I think Aaron Brothers. We frame it. It looks really professional, nice and stuff. He's like, cool. He goes, just leave it in the classroom, whatever. So I didn't think anything of it. Next thing I know, I won an award. He entered in a contest. I won all kinds of shit. And then it was all based on what I had told him about me being a starving artist. And then he had hit me with a $500 check because he had asked me to draw a tiger. We were Valencia Tigers. He wanted me to draw a tiger, a realistic, kind of looking realistic tiger diving through a fire ring. So I drew it, gave it to him, didn't think anything of it. I drew that portrait and I had complained about being a starving artist. Then he hit me with the best shit ever. He entered my shit in a competition. He had been asked to draw that design for the alumni, for the alumni committee, for an alumni ceremony, and he got paid for it. He gave me the money. He gave me the check. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, this is your money. You drew it. This is what you got. He showed me the shirts and everything that came of my one design. I was like, holy shit. Now all of a sudden I had $500 because Mr. Leverett decided to,
Yeah.
give me the job in a sense. And he just to prove, hey man, you can make money at this. I'm like, dude, this is the shit. I can't believe this shit. And that weekend we had a parade. This whole city had a parade called the Heritage Parade. And at the Bax building, the main building where it ends, they'd have an art show. Didn't know this, but everyone's going, hey, Michael, good job. Hey, Michael, good job. Hey, Gorilla, saw your shit. Good stuff there. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Mr. Leverett took the portrait I did of my parents and submitted it to the county, whatever it was. And I won an award. I wanted like money and all kinds of shit. And I had no clue. And it was just to prove that I can make money as an artist. But I just didn't believe that I could. I didn't. And I've talked to, like I said, I used to talk to kids at schools, and they would hear the same shit I hear. Like their parents was like, hey man, you better start thinking about a career. And I'm thinking, like, dude, I have a career and I'm an artist. So, I again, looking back at all the stuff that I've done back then, man, I'm kind of excited to share it with you, bro. I hope I didn't bore you. This is kind of a boring story sometimes,
No, dude, because here's what I love, man, is because like especially someone like you coming into this space, that specific story, like all the stories, but that one specifically stood out just because like we don't ever get to evolve by keeping what we have. We don't ever get to evolve by like not sharing our story with anybody. Like and there's so many people, and not just artists, but like anyone who's like wanting to build, anyone who's like an entrepreneur, whether it's an artist, like a writer, like any sort of creative has that same thing. Sometimes people just need to like have someone show them the door. Like, and that's really what this space is about. Like I've never seen a community where there's so many people who are literally just willing to open the door for people. They're not going to do the job for them. They're not going to like do the work for them, but they're going to open the door and say, hey, here you go. This is possible. Like, and I've seen that more in this space than I have in any other space that I've been a part of. Like for me, I built my following initially on esports and video game content. Like I'm a big Halo guy. Like I like Gears of War, Call of Duty. So when you mentioned Halo, I got really excited. But it was always like that whole community in Web 2, I call it Web 2 content creation. It's just, how can I step over you to get where I need to be? Like there's no opening the door. There's no like, and maybe, now that I say this, like maybe they were, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. But it seemed so superficial. Like it seemed so just like you say the right things to open the right doors, like, and it's not genuine. Like it's not authentic. This has been the most authentic space. And why? Like you just said, you and your homie like had a handshake agreement. He could go run away with it, but he's not incentivized to do so. Like that's the wildest thing about Web3 and the blockchain. And I think that the conversation that doesn't get touched on a lot, or that doesn't get talked about, is that this is literally driving. It's not going to solve world hunger. It's not going to solve all the like every problem that humans have. We still have to we still got to deal with some shit. But this actually is a step in the right direction because it incentivizes the right behavior. Because guess what? Everyone's actions are public on the blockchain. Could he go anon? Could he go anonymous? Could he run away? Absolutely. But for being a creative and understanding how humans work in general, like hiding, something is eventually going to catch up with you. And that's not a way to live. You know what I mean? You can hide, you can run, like you can do that. But the guilt and the weight and the burden, I mean, shit, like that's going to catch up with anyone no matter who you are, like whether you're an artist or not, So he's actually incentivized to not do that. Especially if he wants to make a name for himself, he's incentivized to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And when you have that, like, look, like we all got our shortcomings, we all have our biases, we all have our we're all born with that, and we all have our experiences that shape us to who we are, and have our own fears and doubts. But like when you remove that element, like when you allow people to be a little bit more themselves, and when you create a trustless system, it allows people to trust them more. It allows people to open the doors for more creativity. Like, hey, here's the door. Like this is me just opening the door for you because like I'm like someone's opening the door for me, so I'm gonna do it for you. Like and it's wild how like my like personal life is so, or like I guess I shouldn't say it's separate. It's all one life, but like that's like why my like sobriety journey, there's so many correlations between that. Like I'm always incentivized to help the next guy because it gives me freedom. It keeps me closer, and it keeps me at the source. It keeps me in the trenches. Where like because my life my life is really fucking good today, and it's like But 8 years ago, it was not. And it's really easy to forget that. Like, it's really easy to forget where you came from.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
that's I say that roundabout story because I feel like, especially someone like you with your experience, like having that ability to open the door for, especially for some of the younger talent that's in the space, especially for some, like, whether they're younger or older, but like, man, sometimes people just need to be shown the door. Like
Yeah.
it's and you have like 18,000 stories to show them how to open that door. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
oh yeah, Miss Murphy with the she showed me the
Dude,
animation realm. Yeah,
dude,
Mr. Leverett, all the stuff. You're right.
exactly.
Yeah, there's so many, and now even now, like when I'm
Yeah,
learning with this NFT worlds and stuff that what I'm
yeah,
learning, it seems like, like you said, it's that space that I've been looking for because I
yeah,
won't be judged by the past,
yeah,
and whether you or I at one time might have had a little bit of a problem, with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Again, it's not going to, no one's going to judge us on that. They're going to look at what you're doing and what we'd like to accomplish and
right,
say, hey man, you want to be part of this? You want to work with us? You want to do this? And no one's going to judge you. No one's going to, like, step
yeah,
forward and want to be part of it. And I'm
yeah,
kind of excited about where this is going to go. I'm really stoked that you actually asked me to be part of this, bro. Because
yeah,
like you're right. I understand that my story could help others, and I don't think about it as
yeah,
such because it's my life. And you think like, oh, so what's the
yeah.
big deal? And
What's so
but
special? Yeah, yeah,
then when you start saying it out loud, and when Meg repeats it back to someone, and she's like, oh man, who are you talking about? I go, oh yeah, that's
yeah,
me. And,
yeah,
and it's kind of a weird thing. And the journey. Now I'm telling you about. It wasn't all fun. There was,
right,
like you said, there's some dark times. My brother being incarcerated,
yeah,
being caught up in the drug scene, Hollywood scene. That was rough, because all of a sudden I had access to Playboy models and producers and directors and stuff, and all of them wanted to party, and I had the ability to make that so. And so it was kind of a crazy trip, but to talk about the good stuff, is always better, and
yeah.
it's
I'm
more.
sure.
It's, of course, it's more motivating, but they all. You can't also. I don't want anyone thinking that it was just all a dance all the way to the top. That was so.
Yeah,
I just stood out front, got a job, and it was so fun. There was a lot. Even at the Simpsons, a job that there was interoffice politics and there was cliques. You had the goth group, the people that
yeah,
were religious, the people that were into like just music and art, the people
yeah,
that were
yeah,
just the real hermits. There was some of the little nerdy geek guys that I worked at. They were so isolated. They wouldn't talk to anyone. They would eat by themselves. I would try my best to talk to them and see like, hey, bro, I'm cool.
yeah,
When I was in high school, there was a lot of kids like that in my art class that were very quiet, but I would look over their shoulder and tell them, hey, bro, that's really good, man. Hey, encourage and try to talk to them and try to like get them out of their shell. And, when I went
yeah.
back to my 20 high school reunion, then Meg went with me on that one because my wife said, "I'm going to that. Have to take Meg with you." All right. On the 10 year, I was like a year deep into The Simpsons. I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
cool."
yeah,
I was like, hey, this guy really did something with his life, and it was kind of a trip because everyone knew I was a class clown. I was running with the homeboys, and I was always scrapping. So no one knew what was going to happen to old Gorilla, and the fact that I ended up on The Simpsons stuff turned out okay. But on my 20th reunion, I did talk to some of the students, well, some of my old classmates that when we were, in the art room, they're like, Miguel, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have pursued what I did. I ended up in graphics,
yep,
da da da. But that's because you really encouraged me, and you were, They kept saying I was Mr. Leverett's favorite, and I take that, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad to say that. Hell yeah, I was teacher's pet. I dated his daughter. How's that? I mean, yeah, I didn't even know. Check this out. In the 8th grade, I was dating this chick named Michelle, and I'm thinking, all right, cool. She's like, hey, come with me to visit my dad. I'm like, where's your dad? So he's the soccer coach at the high school next door. I'm thinking, cool, we're going to be there next year. I don't play
yeah,
soccer. I'll never
yeah,
see the guy. So go on, see the guy. Cool, meet him, right? Didn't think anything of it. First day of school, my art class, I see him all, holy shit. I'm all, hey there, Mr. Leverett. He's all, hey, Miguel, what are you doing here? I'm all, I'm in your art class now. I'm like, you're the art teacher? And so, yeah. I'm, oh, shit. And I was dating his daughter at the time. It's like, oh, man. So, but I was never mean to her. I was always, we were
yeah,
friends that just kind of, she went that way, I went this way.
yeah, yeah,
But I remained friends with him and still her. We're still friends to this day. And, this is a true story. On his deathbed, he had her call me to say bye.
Mm,
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
wow,
Yeah,
wow,
and
man.
it still hurts me because it was
I could
such
hear
a
it. Yeah,
it was sad because he actually He remembered of all his students on his deathbed called me. Not bad.
It's pretty good, man.
Right?
And it just goes to show like because I very much relate with you where it's just like it's my story, it's just who I am, it's just like what I do, and you know there's this fine line of like confidence and humility at the same time. You know, it's like and there's because I feel like especially for people like us, it's hard to like share some of that because we don't want it to come off as like overconfident. But what I'm actually starting to realize, like this is just through my own journey and my own process, is that like I have the credibility to back up everything I say. Like I have the credibility to like you. So it's like it's not like that overconfidence is only when you don't have the ability to back it up. Like it's like that's but it's this weird like this weird shortcoming, this weird feeling that people have where it's just like I can't say that, I can't be confident because I don't know if I'm gonna live up to it. But when especially after hearing your story, it's like, bro, you can you can live up to it, right?
Well,
like
you know,
you've lived
Mr. Leverett, when the one interview that I did give, I talked about him.
Yeah.
And I remember going to visit him after that. And I told him, I said, you know, as a teacher, I know all teachers say this shit. If I make a difference in one student's life, it was worth it. So I told him, it's me. It was me. When he met me, granted, I was dating his daughter, but I was running with the homeboys. I was like heavily into drugs. I was fucking up a lot. Better yet, I talked to my friend not too long ago, and we were reminiscing about the first day of school in the 7th grade. All right, you ever watched the movie The Hangover?
What? Yeah.
Okay, that happened to me in the 7th grade, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
I thought we were smoking weed. We were going to go the first day of school, and we thought we were smoking weed. My homie thought it'd be funny to make it a super cool, a whack. He dipped it in PCP.
Yep.
And didn't tell us. So we start smoking. And 3-4 hits into it, all of a sudden I'm like, hey man, this smells like shit, tastes like shit. What is this? And they're like, hey man, it's a super cool, take it easy. And as he says that, all of a sudden I'm trails.
Yeah.
Shit. And the adventure began. And I thought I went to the first day of school at 7th. I didn't even go to the first day of school in 7th grade because we were out. We had stolen a car. We ended up in a fight in a pizzeria. We ended up at Dungeons and Dragons. We ended up at some weird frat party. It was crazy. It was the wildest thing ever. I woke up in a dumpster that day, and it was at night. I ended up. It was the craziest thing ever. But knowing that that's how I was back then, and that what he did by pushing me and telling me, Miguel, you do this and draw this and make me do it and force me to break out of comfort zones, because I was only doing a lot of graffiti. I was doing a lot of homeboy stuff, a lot of lowriders, a lot of like cholo lowrider-esque stuff that you would see in Lowrider magazine, a lot of prison style artwork. It was what Cartoon is known for, you know, Cartoon. He's a great artist right now. It's that style. It's a prison style look, but I've never been to jail. I was too smart for that. But I just never. It wasn't my thing. But I saw so much of it, so many tats, and people would like, hey, draw this, draw that, and I was drawing that at the time. And Mr. Leverett said, you need to start breaking away, and you can draw people. You're really good at this. You're really good at that. And the cartoons, he saw that I had the ability to just bust out characters really fast, and he really liked it. And he thought that this is probably the thing that for you. You should probably consider getting into making your own characters and stuff. So. Sick. Him pushing me, and then like I said, when I got to The Simpsons and then had that interview and said, if there was a teacher in this world that made a difference, and a guy that was a homeboy that was told that would be dead or in jail by the time he was 15, this man, Mr. Richard Leverett, he made a difference. He changed my life and the way of thinking as an artist. He proved to me I can make money. He can prove that with the right talent, ability, and tenacity, you can push it, and that there is no limits in art. There is no limits.
Yeah.
Art is limitless. Art can, hey man, that painter fell from a 10-story building painting. I said, yeah, but he died what he was doing, but there was no limit for him, pushing it to the point where he died a warrior's death, die what you love doing, if I slump over my iPad or this drawing table, it was worth it. So be it. And if what, I was fortunate enough to work in an industry and make money at it.
Yeah.
And it was fun and really cool, but it's not as rewarding as one would think. I say that because I thought I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm making money. I'm fucking working TV. This is awesome. And it's not as rewarding as it is when you're sitting at the beach and someone's watching you and they say, dude, that's so cool. I'll pay you for it. And then when they find out what you drew for, they give you extra cash for that. But point being is that, you know, there's so many artists out there that have what I probably even exceed what I have. I've been out on Twitter feeds. I've been seeing
this
people's
place is
artwork.
yeah.
And it's amazing. And
It's
like,
insane,
dude,
man.
I told Meg, it's like literally again falling back into that art room where all of a sudden you're amongst a bunch of great artists and you're looking around going, holy shit, that guy sculpts, that guy paints, that guy does 3D, that guy does this. And you know, and I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I want to do something with you. And that's kind of where I'm at. I find that, you know, this is where I'm kind of, we bought this little thing. We got a place at LinkedIn because I want to start, I'm trying to have a place built right now. We have templates that they have to run around in like an apocalyptic city and a jungle setting and stuff like that. So we have a place to run around in, and we have an avatar. So I'm going to try to invite other artists to come in and show them what I'd like to do. I want to set up, like, I have my original website was an Aztec temple, which is technically a gorilla temple. And my gorilla walks out and he doesn't talk. He just holds up signs like, welcome. What would you like? What language? You know, and if you don't press anything, he beats his chest and gets angry. And that was the original. So I want to turn that into a 3D environment and still have a 3D gorilla cartoonish looking character, but not a real live looking, you know, I still want it to look cartoon now in my mind.
Right.
But I'd like for it to be a VR realm where someone could come to our location and enter this temple and see it like, hey, maybe I want it to be a convention hall in a sense and have rooms where you can have, like, I can display other artists' artwork and have this artist of the month, and then have a little shop where someone might want to buy our NFTs. And this is maybe where we can have a door, you know, behind the beads. You can go and you can get into the Meowthia game if you're dangerous enough to try it. And that game this is where I'm looking to hook up with other artists and people that want to, like, look, I have an idea. And I know I can't build this on my own. It's grown over 20 years. It's 20 years of worlds in my head. And I went blind in 2014. My retina's detached, and I was in darkness. And I was blind for a minute. And then while I was blind, me and Meg had worked on make the Meowthia cartoon and all that stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm going to play the Meowthia as a game. So I was really good at, you know, PlayStation stuff. So I pretended to hold a controller. I couldn't see anything. I just started to play my game in my head. And when I started to get my sight back, I started to draw the cats again. And we ended up with 300 something cats. And what it is, like I said, it's Grand Theft Auto. And I wanted to draw a mafia leader for every nation of the world. And everyone would answer to John Gatto. So we're looking at almost 200 nations. So each one would have a mafia. And in our world, in this cat world, you know, if you had to deal with the Italian mafia, you go to Little Italy. If you had to go to Little Russia, so it was all little this, little that. And that's how it started. So we can make it, you know, where it wouldn't be massive worlds with small little places intertwined. Yeah. So when I was blind, I started to do this game, and I finished one level in my head, and I was telling Meg every day, so today I did this, and I was telling her over and over again, and I ended up fighting the 7 samurai to take down Lady Mariko. And that was the last of level 1, and she answered, you know, I now take a section of a burrow, and now I have clout and now I have an army, a little bit of soldiers and stuff. So I'm moving up in my ranks in my own head. This is a game that I have yet to write down. I'd probably like to talk to developers and writers and stuff like that. So maybe we can make it better. You know, all I did was play something in my head that was pretty much Grand Theft Auto. I was running around doing a bunch of dumb shit, but in doing so, I figured I'd find like second-hand Easter eggs here. Here's a random victim that has a lot of loot. Here's a cop that's going to stop you. And here's a detective. I'm going to need, we need vigilantes. Now, I need people that are going to come fight you. If you go around beating up the innocent, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And then I started telling Meg, we should do all these cats. And if people come in, we invite people into this world, you better have a cat avatar, because if not, you're going to stand out. So, that's something we're working on right now. But, we're excited that's kind of the idea. Right now, this is where we're at. We're all the experience and all the things that I've done, even going blind, using it to my advantage to build, I was still drawing in my head. And I'll tell you what, Meg has photographs. There's one cat in particular.
That's so cool, dude.
There's a cat. It's a steampunk cat. He's the steampunk assassin. Meg will probably post it or something. See if we can find that cat. But anyways, I was literally like, I could only see a few inches in front of my face, and I had a patch on one eye, and I was sitting there just drawing, and she took video or pictures of me drawing it. I was tracing what was in my head. I really couldn't see. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
ghost
yeah,
lining.
yeah.
I draw, and like in my mind, I could see, okay, I did a circle. This is this. And I was trying to keep my pencil as close as I could to the paper. So if I was fucking up, at least I was close enough
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
crisscross and a tangent
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I was close enough. When I got my sight back and I saw it, I was impressed as shit. I was like, I can't believe I did that. I was so
That's so
impressed with
cool.
myself and that I was blind and did that. And, you know, tooting my own horn, I still have two eyes. Meg's mother, she's blind, literally. She's missing one eye, and she's a tremendous artist. And that's what I was thinking. If she can do it, I can do it. That was another motivating factor. You see other people in the world that might have a disability or something, and you think, man, there was a guy at Venice Beach. This dude didn't have any hands. He was drawing with his feet. And I was like, dude, this guy was killing it. And I was like,
It's
dude,
insane. Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah.
But homeboy was pulling. And it's like, dude, this guy should be somewhere else. I mean, I get it. The beach is where you're going to go and try to make your money because this is where you're at. And, but in my mind, I thought, man, if I had a spot, just would put this dude or his artwork, where no one could see his shit. J-Man, I was hanging with him over there at the beach. He had a head injury. And he's known as the dot guy out in Venice Beach. I don't know if he's still out there, but everything he paints is in dots because that's what he sees. He did full portraits in pure dots, and he's up close to it like this, just tapping away, and then he'll back away, and all of a sudden he's got a portrait. It's crazy, and he's done like Jimi Hendrix and a bunch of different
Wow.
big
Yeah.
Morrissey stuff like that. He was doing a lot of musicians, but people were coming to commission him, and I was like, dude, you need a gallery exhibition or something. And
Yeah.
there's just no places for people like that. There's no places for people that do great wall art. There's so many graffiti artists that have such great pieces that are so intricate and beautiful that there's no place to display it. But now that there's VR and there's VR walls and there's spray cans and there's stuff that you can do. There's I saw it. It was a wall. It's technically you're with a spray can that has a sensor, and you're choosing with your hand, a touch screen, and you're actually painting on a virtual wall. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
It's
And
nuts, man.
again, things that I thought of as a child, when I thought of jumping into Tron or we're jumping into like Joust, any of that shit. Now the time is here, and I'm ready to be part of something like this. I'm ready to start working with people. Anyone that wants to help build my worlds, I'm always willing. We were having issues with networks and TV people for the reason that they want your IP, they want your intellectual property, and they want to own it. They want to control it.
Yep.
Where I was like, hey, dude, I made this up. You're gonna tell me about my shit? I go, dude, I need to be there. I need to tell you where he's going. I need to tell you what's up. I don't like this idea of you guys owning me and what I have. So I have friends that have sold their stuff, and I know that they are not allowed to draw the characters that they created other than to promote the show right now. And even then, they have to make sure that they write, this is a property owned of Nickelodeon, Disney, whoever they owns it, they have to write that. And it kind of sucks because, hey man, you created something that like some kids are like, Butch Hartman's a great example. He created the Fairly Odd Parents. He's done great stuff, but he really can't. He does his promotion. I don't know what he can do and can't do, but I still see him drawing some of his stuff. And I'm thinking like, wow, he's probably one of the only people that I see really drawing his own shit, and like he doesn't get in trouble. And I see him doing fan art. He does Spider-Man and stuff like that. So, he's still doing artwork as an artist and stuff, and no one's giving him shit. And I was like, cool, maybe he had something special with Nickelodeon. But when we talked to those bastards, they said like, once we own it, we tell you what you can and can't draw. If you think you can go out and just draw something for some kid, I got in trouble at Fox, and I don't care if they get mad at this. I got in trouble because I was drawing for like kids. Like they asked us to go talk to kids at hospitals or whatever. And I had a nephew who had leukemia. So I went to see him, and I drew him some Simpsons characters. And all the kids at the ward, I drew a bunch of Simpsons characters. And they had other brothers that weren't sick, and I drew for them and stuff like that. So I told somebody at the studio that I did that, and they got back, and I was in trouble. Like, hey, dude, you can't be doing that shit. It's got to be sanctioned. We authorize when and how you do it and where and stuff. Can't keep track of what's out there. I was like, what are you talking about? This kid asked me for a favor, and I just hooked it up on a napkin, bro. It's no big deal. But Fox was really a dick about that kind of stuff, and I thought, that's a dick move. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to deny some kid like, hey, can you draw me Bart? Say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that because Fox won't allow me. This,
Yeah.
I have approval. I thought that was bullshit, and I thought, why is this? And I looked into it, and it's because of ownership. They own the rights to the IPs, and they have the right to dictate and delegate what's to be done with those properties. And I thought that, this is just not for me. And I told
Yeah.
Meg, since we have a bunch of our stuff that someday our format, there'll be an arena where we'll be able to jump in, and now here we are. We're
Yeah.
here at NFT in NFT land.
And guess what? Like, yeah, dude. And if here's the cool thing about like what's wild about this is that if Fox wants to purchase a certain set of rights to do something like that, like they could do it. Like you would still own it. The person would own it, but you can literally bake whatever rights you want into that ownership token. Like you can like and here's the thing. Like I don't know if you saw this. And by the time this airs, the other one will air, but like I interviewed a photographer, one of my favorite in the space. Her name is Kath Samard, and she actually just released a photo. It was her most stolen photo, and it was if you look up like Hawaii photo, you'll see it's like this road, and there's this like beautiful greenery, like right, like all these trees and the mountains, and it's just a single road like passing through all of it. And that was the wildest story for that. It was sold, not it wasn't sold, it was stolen and used in commerce by all these other big brands. And she would always file takedown notices, like pay all this money for people to try to like get settlements, and none of it ever worked out. But now with NFTs, what she did is she did the very, for photography at least, what she did was she minted that photo as an NFT, and what she did was included the Creative Commons rights to where it was actually minted, someone could own the original, and then the Creative Commons license, anyone could use it for profit, for not profit, for banners. But that NFT was priced at it was 100 Ethereum, and she sold it. And it's provenance. Like it's provenance. It's like this was the first NFT to be minted on the blockchain to where they were that had a Creative Commons license to it. And the way she came up with that is she says this in her episode, but it's like she's like the way I valued it at 100 ETH or like around 350K was that this was the amount of money that I would have gotten from each time my art was stolen. And all that's what she valued it at, because after 5 years of doing this, and after countless, like it's literally one of the most popular Hawaii photos in the entire internet. Like it's wild.
That's awesome. Actually,
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, Meg.
Yeah.
Because we had
Insane.
beef with we had beef with Disney a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't say beef. We didn't
Yeah.
see eye to eye. And in doing so, we started this thing called Sportober, and my character Sparky, he loves to cosplay, so he likes to dress up as all kinds of different things. So for the whole month of October, every day I'm drawing him as a Halloween costume, and we drew him as Money Mouse, and he looks a lot similar to old Mickey.
Yep.
And he's got a dog named Puto he's petting, and Puto being fucker in Spanish.
Yeah.
But so he's petting the dog, and he's got a bag of money. And so Meg, I said, she's all, I'm going to price one high. He said, why? I said, for all the heartache they cause us. They forced us to have to go contact an attorney. So just as a joke, and they're all about money. So we did that as a joke. But we did it as a joke. That person doing that photography, that was smart because it is valued, and I think that is the money she would have lost, that did lose, in all that shit. Because I know that if these guys would have took advantage and used the Sporky name, which technically they rode the wave of it for a while. Me and Meg were on the internet every single day, trying to make sure that when someone hashtagged Sporky, at least our character would pop up. So every single day, I was kicking up something, just something that is Sporky. I made all this. We started doing storyboards. We did a storyline. Yeah. We did backup characters. I did everything we could. We made a 3D version of it. And because he comes from the planet of sharp and pointy things, and he lives in Utensil City. I started making all these utensils, and he has a friend named Fork. His name is Fork. But he's a fork. Yeah. But they don't call him Forky. He's just Fork. Yeah. It's Freddy Fork or something like that. And it's like they call him Fred. It's not. But he's a fork. But he doesn't look like that stupid thing that they have at Disney. Now, when we saw that, we told them, like, no, we don't want to work. We don't want to play with you guys. When we saw that character that they wanted to show, opposed to ours, and we told, like you said, everyone has everyone has rules and regulations on how they work. Disney was Disney's set in their ways. They don't answer to anyone other than their shareholders and stuff. So they're not going to break protocol for anybody. So when we said, hey, look, we'll work with you guys, providing that, maybe you guys can do this. We have an idea. We said, what if the little girl, because apparently, she makes this little Forky character. And I said, well, what if, she sees our character on a Happy Meal or something that's inspired to make it? Why would someone who has so many toys want to make a new one? It didn't make any sense to me. So I was trying to give them as an artist and a storyteller, that doesn't make any sense. If she's loves her toys so much, why would she feel the need to make a new one? That doesn't make any sense to me. So we got into it with them, and they were saying, no, your ideas are good, but we don't want them. It's like, all right, cool, then fuck you guys, and you can't use our shit. And then we got into it with them, and it cost us some money to look into attorneys and stuff. So Meg said, we're going to price that Money Mouse, as a joke. We're going to price it kind of high, to make for the money that we lost on the attorneys and stuff.
Exactly, dude.
But that girl with the photograph, I think I know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. And also we were talking, because I was looking at what's the most popular, most expensive photograph ever made, or most common, the most famous one. And apparently with some artist, some photographer was taking photographs of marble paintings in magazines, like the Marble Man and stuff like that, and blowing them up. And because, they're offset printing. So you see the dots. Yeah. So when you blow it up, you can see the offset print. So you see it looks like a colorful thing. So it turned into artwork as he blew it up. Technically, he did alter it by blowing it up, And sure. I will say, I was telling Meg, we got into the NFT thing, and I started hearing people saying, some people are stealing people's ideas, and some people are trying to mint people's artwork that you can even see the outline of the Instagram stuff. I'm thinking, this is kind of crazy. In a way, I know this sounds stupid and crazy, but I also respect the grift. When someone tries to come in and try to cause chaos, sometimes I think hey man, there's something to this. Someone's always trying to punch holes in your stuff, and you need to know where they're at. So sometimes these guys are a necessary evil. Sometimes you need these guys in here, but you're going to get caught. Some of these guys are going to get found out and stuff. That I watched a documentary recently about some lady that had bought some Pollocks, and they were saying how could you not know these were fakes? Well, the Asian this is a Chinese guy that was painting Pollocks. He studied Pollock, and he studied on this big university, and that's what they did. That's what he wanted to do, and he was able to replicate his style so well that he tricked these professionals. People were paying top dollar for these phonies and shit. And I thought, man, you got to give it up for the art. The guy is able to do it. I mean, granted, it's the forgery of the signature. Even that was so dead on that it passed. And you got to give it up to the guy that he was able to even replicate a signature. These guys were putting it on canvases of the era from that time and trying to use paint of that time. They were really trying to make it so it was a real good, fake. And, as an artist, you got to, and as the dude that did some dirty back in the day, you got to respect the fact that, hey, man, that's an art form too. A con is an art form. And I know that sounds kind of bunk jumping into the NFT world, but I'm prepared for it. And I told Meg, we have to be ready. We have to be ready for people to come at us sideways. When we first jumped in, we immediately started hearing people saying, hey, man, you're from the Simpsons Family Guy. Dude, I want to invest in you. I want to hear about you. You don't even know what I have, bro. You all of a sudden want to invest in me because I'm not going to draw Simpsons shit. I'm not going to draw Family Guy stuff, bro. I'm drawing my own shit. So do you know what I have? So some of these people that were jumping in too eagerly kind of put me and Meg in a very defensive position. We're we've been approached by a lot of people, and then all of a sudden trying to lift our skirts. Hey, dude, buy me lunch first, bro. I'm not going to just show you what I got. I need to know what you're about too. Some people that have asked to invest in us, we couldn't find a digital footprint on for shit. We're about cryptocurrency. We keep ourselves secret and say, hey, bro, but you're asking me to give up my life's work for X amount of dollars, and it sounds cool and everything. I appreciate it, but I don't have a price for my life's work. I want to work with others to make, I've had a taste of success the way I wanted to taste it and reaching my dream of becoming an animator for television. I would love for another artist, younger than me, another, even older than me, just to feel that, dude, how cool to be part of something really big. I am very well aware that my name rolling in those credits, check this out. I did draw for both of those shows back to back, Simpsons and Family Guy, with no formal training whatsoever. And I and Swampy are the only two that I can think of right now that have our AKAs in the credit when it's not Halloween. My name says Miguel Gorilla Lopez on my credit name, and it's not Halloween. It's my credit, and on Family Guy, and I believe on Barnyard as well, back at the Barnyard. So I have AKAs that were given, so everyone knows me as Gorilla in this. A lot of people didn't even know my real name. They were like, "Hey, Gorilla." I didn't know my real name was Miguel, and it was kind of cool. You know, it's like a little bit of it's a secret kind of guy in the wings. But there was nothing secret about a 500-pounder. I couldn't hide that easy, but it's kind of a trip though how I ended up drawing those shows, and I ended up that way, and I have the weird way of getting in, and then having the credits that I have, and stuff. I get it. It's kind of cool and weird, and like I told you before, it was just my life, so it doesn't seem odd. But when you start saying it or start telling the story and you say, "Hey, I guess that is kind of weird. That is unorthodox. That is kind of strange," but it is kind of, it makes me feel kind of Now I'm telling you right now, you make me feel pretty strong right now. I feel kind of I feel like I feel a little more empowered. Like I should be talking to more artists. I want to help them. I want to work with other artists. I would love to work with anyone that just wants to say, hey, if they see my artwork and say, "Hey, dude, I think I can draw like your shit." "Oh no shit, let's see what you got." And right now, like the Sharog, I made that cat in his, a mafia cat for him. He turned it into a beautiful 3D version of my cat. I told him, I said, "Bro, if you want to sell this as an NFT, go for it. Just give Meg licensing, maybe a small percentage for licensing, but it's your artwork. I don't want it." He was going to give it to us. He wanted us to sell and then maybe give him a piece. And I told him, "No, dude, this is your artwork. If anything, I mean, I feel bad even asking for a piece of it, only because I have to answer to Meg. She's the boss. And she knows that we have licensing that we have to keep a piece of our name to this." So we both shook, again, virtual handshake. He's in India, I'm here. We'll say, "Hey, if we sell it, we'll sell it for 50-50. Cool, yeah, cool." And we agreed to it. But we're not going to sell it because we're going to use it as our avatar right now within our realm. And we're going to invite people to come and run around and check out our space. And like I said, I want to build a temple. I'd like to, like for Buddy, the weed smoking skunk, he's trying to put on a music festival at the Bowl. It's called Weedapalooza or Bongaroo. And he's been tasked to find bands and rap groups and talent to perform at the Bowl, comedians, any of that stuff. So that was part of a cartoon. So in our realm now, we'd like to make the Bowl, and I'd like to make that a venue and invite rappers and comedians and DJs and stuff and throw festivals here. I'd like people to use our convention hall or the temple as whatever they like, as a museum, as Comic-Con, as something,
Yeah.
And then we have other locations. Like right now, we're working at Oso Olympico. He's trying to be the best. Several years ago, we were doing stuff for the Olympics that would have done for the 2020 Olympics. But when we were doing it, we found out that you can't do anything without the permission. You can't use the name, the rings, the fire, the torch, any of that shit.
Yeah.
So we said, you know what? I don't like these rules and regulations. I had a character. We used to live off the 405 freeway. The exit was Olympic Pico. So when I tell people to get off, I'd say, "Get off on Olympico." And that was the name. I made a character named Oso Olympico, which is technically in Spanish, Olympic bear. And but I spelled it differently because it's Pico based on the streets that I lived off of. So what I did was I found out what we could use in regards to using any kind of Olympic games. So they don't own the rights to any games. So we made Oso Olympico, hopefully that we can make it for our VR world, where it's a location, a coliseum where you come to extreme sports, like skateboarding, bike riding. But at the same time, you're going to be, shooting maybe flaming darts or flaming arrows while, riding a unicycle, like coming down a slalom. We're going to make it pretty extreme. So we're trying to make all that happen. So, everything that we're working on now, it's all about, I guess for our metaverse, man, I'm trying to get it together. I really like to get this thing going.
Yeah, dude.
I'm hoping that by talking to you, that maybe some artist out there will be like, "Hey, dude, I do environments. Hey, I code. I do this." I mean, talking to some of the guys that I'm talking to that actually do it, like the guys that do the Halo stuff, those guys are, they're about it, man. They're all about it, but they're very intense dudes, and sometimes it's hard to talk to them because when you're trying to tell them something and their one-track mind, it's kind of tough. But I'm getting to learn how different people are in the industry. You got some coders and stuff that thinking of Grandma's Boy. You ever seen that movie? You got that guy that thinks he's the shit. That thinks, "Oh, I made the best game ever." But then you got the other guys that are just as good at giving out good ideas. Like, hey man, if we change the color to this guy, we don't have to do anything more than just change the clothing. And that's a genius idea, but it's shot down by the Spark. You know what I'm saying? So I'm seeing that those personalities are kind of real and out there right now. And it's kind of reintroducing myself to that type of art form. It's sometimes it's an actual art form because talking to people that are not used to socializing, but have the brain capacity to make fucking beautiful artwork.
Yeah, bro. I mean, but what we're doing is art. Like conversation is an art, and active listening is an art. Because one thing that I've learned, and I knew I was onto something, and then I got it validated. Not that I needed it, but I did kind of need it just for my own self confidence. But like when I'm because when I try to here's the challenge for me is like when I would try to like I went so into the weeds with this industry, the NFT, the art, the crypto, all this shit. And then like I'm like, you know what, but let me come back to reality. Let me like, hang out with friends, let me like talk but every conversation I had, this shit would come up. And I found myself in the beginning, the first couple times I explained it to people, it was literally just like emotion and information vomit. Like there was no context, there was no structure, there was no it was just like blabbing all of this shit out at once. And like they're just like, okay, I was more confused and you actually didn't help me here, right? And so
you know what? I don't want to cut you off. Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. And when people said NFT to me, it stood for not a fucking thing because I did not understand it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you, people were throwing it out at me. And I was like, what does it even mean?
And they're throwing bits of the finance. They're throwing bits of the art. They're throwing bits of the ownership. They're throwing bits of immutable. And you're like, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've really that's really helped me onboard people, and this is for specific types of people who have just never heard of it. I like to like understand who they are. And I like to give them a real life example of like something that could happen in this world. Like my favorite example. So I'm a Tool fan. This is like the Tool Army, like exclusive membership, their favorite band of all time. Tool? Yeah.
My mother-in-law, I swear to God, she's 70. Goes every Tool and Rammstein. And she loves System of a Down. Oh, she's all about it. My mother-in-law. It's crazy.
That's insane, man.
So she's gonna love knowing that there's other people out there that are just as Tool-y.
Dude, I'm nuts. I'm nuts. I think I said this as offline. Like if Tool ever comes out with an NFT, I'm prepared to give all my life savings over to like own that. That to me is like one of the most anyway, like what I can have a whole other podcast on my infatuation with Tool. But there's a song, there's two songs in their 10,000 Days album where it's called Wings for Marie and 10,000 Days, and it's about his mother dying. Like it's a song to his mother. It's about when his mother was dying. And he was my buddy who actually passed from, addiction. Like, and he just couldn't get it, man, and he was actually at the last concert where Maynard and Tool did Wings from Marie and 10,000 Days because it brought up the place he had to go to deliver that piece of art was not something that he wanted to ever do again. Like, he's like, because where he had to go to get to the voice, to get to the rhythm, to get to that magical like work of art that we've listened to for so many years, he's just like, I'm not willing to do that anymore. And so I give this example. I said, man, imagine if that was like documented on history where anyone could go look that up. If that was the last time you were ever at your favorite artist or your favorite musician's concert and they played that song for the last time and it was provable, it was immutable, it was documented, you know how special of a collectible that would be? Like, because right now we have to like, I trusted him and because I knew he was just as much a fanatic as I was, but someone else may not believe him. Imagine if you could prove that provenance on the internet, and you could prove like if the band coded like this was the last, like if you could literally see they never played another version of this song outside of that show. And so what I tell people is that like, imagine if you're like, I just say, name your favorite artist. And I say, name your favorite song. And they're like, what if you were at their last show that they played? And you could actually prove it. And like, well, how would I do that? And then it's like, so
that's what ticket stubs, man. That was the old way
right.
of proof. NFT is a ticket stub.
It is, but how would you just buy that ticket stub? How would you really know?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's
right.
True.
So
only like you said, only looking on the internet and finding that this date these guys played this song for the last time. You're talking about like songs itself, and you're right. The art of that is fucking insane because you're right. The last time they played it, it's like, some of the stuff I would tell kids when I would go to the schools, I would tell them this. I said, listen, when you sit at your drawing table or your art pad or whatever the fuck you're drawing on, when you start to create something, think about how many people are on this planet. Think about it. There's billions of us. At that moment, you're the only person doing what you're doing and creating what you're creating. And when you're done, the only one in existence sits before you. Now you have that. So think about that, bro. And again, you can prove it, of course, but that moment, it's like it's there. Megan, as a photographer, I told her, she's caught some moments. I'm like, dude, you've caught a moment in time that is never going to occur ever again. That's what a photography is. It's a moment in time that you capture, and it's never can ever happen again. She was out. We were somewhere driving on the 101. She posted her camera up and just took a picture of something out in the water, and it was a picture of a dolphin breaching the water, looking dead at camera. 1 in a million shot, a little baby dolphin.
Yeah.
So far away, and a perfect shot. She was up in Oregon visiting family. She sees a death throes of a salmon, and it's dying, and it's in this death throes. The water that flashes, she takes a picture, forms a heart, a perfect heart of water. I told her, dude, the moment you captured, no one's going to see that. No one would ever know it exists had you not captured that.
Yep.
Granted, she has a file date stamped on her photography. But you're right. Things like photography or a picture are probably a lot easier to have up here. I drew it, but the date and stuff is hard to prove unless you videotape. That's what Meg started doing when we were drawing a lot of these cats. She started to record because she said, you did lose your sight. What if it goes away forever? This could be your last one. Like, holy shit, she's right. So on that same note, like, what if someone gets my concept and builds off it? I mean, I would love for others to say, hey, you have a good idea here, but I think we do this. Oh yeah, let's do that. I would just love to see my creation come to life. Some of it I have, but it wasn't mine. To draw on TV and you see something finally move that you did, and like, hey, I did that. That's cool. Going to the store and like, I remember drawing for Family Guy the chicken fight. I remember drawing the chicken.
You did that?
The chicken fight, yeah. I did. I remember drawing the chicken for the chicken fight, and I remember going to the store and I look at the toys and I'm like, hey, I drew that fucking chicken. That's my fucking chicken. But I drew it in Family Guy style. But in my mind, there was no Family Guy chicken. There was no. I drew Peter in the suit. I drew Peter, the guy outside the thing. I drew that whole. My first show at the Family Guy, I'm Mexican. All the guys that were the writers were Jewish. The fucking show I got there, and they gave me the Jew show. That's what they called it, the Jew show. When I wish upon a Weinstein, I'm like, dude. I go, this is going to be so racist. I already know it. I'm going to be in trouble right out the box. And sure enough, man, we were constantly getting in trouble. But it wasn't my doing. I didn't write the script. I got one time. This is a true story. We were out. I had a crew jacket on, and it said Family Guy. And I got up. I went to the restroom at a restaurant. I was coming back. Lady stood right in front of me. She told me I was a sinner. I should go to hell. People like me deserve the worst, and that I can't. That I am responsible for the garbage on TV. Yeah. And I looked at her and I was telling her, what are you talking about? She's all, do you work for that show? And I said, yeah, I'm a character designer there. She's all sitting there. She's all, you're this and you're that. And I told her, look, lady, I go, you're lucky that you're standing here before me this way. I said, if my life would have been any other way, I would have been standing behind you in an ATM with a gun in your back. Just know that. All right. So be fortunate that you're standing like this and telling me you're talking this shit and I can take it. I said, but I want you to understand one thing. I work for this place, but I didn't create it. I didn't write it. I go to work and it's like, it's like getting mad at the guy at the slaughterhouse, man. It's his job. He's got to kill the cattle. That's his job. Yeah. And that's what my job was. I had to draw characters. I got into a lot. One of the times I got in trouble by celebrities was, do you remember Gary Coleman from Different Strokes?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I told you, I was a big guy. I was like 4 bills. At the time, I was like 6'1". I lost a lot of weight. I lost a couple inches in height. I was like 4 bills. 6'1". I used to drive a 63 lowrider Impala, and I was full on like Raider Nationed up all the time, silver and black. And I had a goatee about the middle of my chest. So I looked like I thugged up pretty hardcore. He got mad the way I drew him. So he kept complaining to the writers, who the fuck drew this? I want to see the guy who drew this. And they were telling him, hey man, you really don't want to complain to this dude. He's a big guy. He goes, I don't give a shit how big he is. He goes, get him up here right now. I want to talk to his face. And they're all, hey, you were saying you were kind of impressed and kind of intimidated by that 63 lowrider down there. Well, that's his. And then he's all, I don't care. I want to talk to him. So, all right. So they call, hey, Gorilla, they need you in the writer's room. So, all right. So I go up there. I walk in, and he's sure enough, the little guy sitting there goes, "Hey, you the one that drew me?" I'm like, "Yup." And he starts talking shit. And I'm like, "Hey, bro, don't get mad at me, brother. This is your face. This is the picture they gave me. This is your face." I put them side by side. This is what they gave me. He wanted me to draw him the way he was known, like when he was a kid. He wanted a cute little picture of himself, but they had a most recent drunk picture of him. So I used that, it was something that was from the news and it was relevant. So he got really pissed off. And, that was one of those things where like a lot of celebrities were, you find out vanity on some celebrities. Some people get really pissed, like, my nose isn't that big. I go, bro, your nose is that big. Dude, your ears are that big. I'm not that fat, bro. You're that fat. It's like, and try to be. I'm not trying to be a dick, but we had to be dead on because it was our job. It was our job to do it. But some people just got mad at it. Some people didn't like. I'm telling you, that lady at the restaurant, she called the cops.
Wow.
She called the cops. She made a big. She was what. Today, I guess you can't call him that, but it was a Karen of her time. She was on it, man. She was all over me, man. And she was telling me that that I was in trouble with society. I was like, yeah, okay. I work for Fox. I know. So it was kind of a funny thing, but yeah, artwork is kind of, it's been my life and still there, and it's controversial, and that's what's fun about it. But like you said, when you have the ability now to lock down like a history and the provenance of something and say like, this happened at this time. We were aware of that when we started doing all the recordings and we started doing a lot of social media. We started Instagram. The first thing we started doing is like, what we should do? Start recording every drawing that we do. So that way we have a timestamp. So if someone copies our shit, we can say, hey, dude, we put that on the gram back on this date. And I have the original paper. Back then I was drawing a lot on paper. Like I said, only recently did I go digital. So a lot of the artwork that I have, I still have. When we got into NFTs, I thought, if someone buys my artwork, I'd always just sign the drawing and send it to them. But then the logistical madness of that crossed my mind. I go, man, that's a lot of paper. That's a lot of signatures. That's a lot of mailing. When am I going to have time to draw? I'm trying to build a metaverse here, bro. I thought, maybe there's another way. So then Meg said, well, we need to find out more about NFTs and find out what are the downfalls? Where can it go bad? And, so we it's been the last month now doing our homework. It's only been a month, but it feels like we've been doing it for like a year. Every day something new, like listening to all these spaces, listening to like NFT Freaks, who's been very helpful. That dude Acid. Everywhere we've gone, who was that other person we were listening to? Well, there's a bunch. There's so many that we've been kind of like listening on, and they have sound advice, and they've been doing it. Like they said, you can't go to college for NFTs. You can't go. There's no class for it. You're kind of on, again, like the Simpsons, on the job training. I got to do it. I got to learn as I go. And I'm trying to find out every aspect. When we first came in, the metaverse hadn't even popped up. I mean, we were talking about selling some drawings and maybe meeting some artists, and then LinkedIn showed up, and I was like, "What's this, dude?" And then everything just started to change.
Like Sandbox.
Yeah, it's like Sandbox. I'm all Sandbox. I've seen Sandbox. I follow. Again, the Twitch streams of some of these gamers. I was telling Meg, how are they getting like some of these mods going? How are they getting like Hulk to be inside Grand Theft Auto or Naked Body or Skeleton? How are they getting these mods? How are they jumping the map? What are they doing here? How are they getting all these like modifications? Who's altering the code? And so I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. So I'm talking to everyone says, oh, it's easy. All you got to go. I say, oh, bro, if it's that easy, then I guess I can put my own stuff in. And Is it easy? Because everyone keeps saying it's so easy. I keep seeing so many people like altering their Grand Theft Auto. Like I've seen the characters, all the characters from like Sing were doing some pretty nasty shit. I've seen some pretty pornographic stuff going on in there in the Grand Theft Auto. I was like, dang, this guy who had his pants down, like running around punching people, but he had his pants like halfway down so you see his ass and taking balls. And then there was a chick who was masturbating and blowing somebody on Grand Theft Auto. I was like, holy shit, this is popping up for reals? And it's like on these Twitch streams and like, dude, how are you guys doing this stuff, man? Hey man, I'm impressed. Kudos. I mean, how are you guys getting able to do this? This is insane. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure it out more and more on how people are starting to, I guess, incorporate artwork into the NFT realm without getting. I don't want my characters to be put into some gnarly shit either. Some of them are kind of like cute and cuddly. And now, if you want to go and mess around in some of my gangster stuff, then I got some dirty stuff too. But for the most part, because I came from television and there was standards and practice, I've kind of kept myself pretty censored and pretty much tongue-in-cheek parodies to the point where you get close enough but not you won't cross that line. Now I know that, you know, decentralized and, you know, Web3, there's going to be like really no rules and regulations. So
exactly,
I'm kind of excited about that because I thought they were necessary, and I guess they kind of are.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the tough conversation right now. That's the tough conversation. Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of listening to the conversations about it because I get what people are saying, that there's some kids in here and stuff like that. But I mean, dude, I've talked to kids that were so like floored that I draw on paper because since they were kids and entered school, they've known nothing but tablets. They don't even know how to, wow, how do you draw on paper? There was this girl. I thought it was the cutest thing ever. She's all fuck paper. I hate it. It's so unforgiving. She's all so unforgiving. She's all, I can't work with this shit. It's bullshit. It's like, well, yeah, because you have to erase. There's no edit undo. And if you fucking use a marker ink, it's, dude, you fuck up, you got to learn how to fix it. So I watch these kids that are like still of a digital age. I come from an analog and I've evolved into digital. So I'm trying to grab the analog knowledge and try to incorporate it somehow. So I can at least make it more comfortable and understanding for people that are a little afraid of it. You know, like right now, our metaverse, immediately I want to integrate controls. I want to use a PlayStation controller. I want to use something like a Wii Switch, something that we could, you know, I don't want to use keyboard. I want to be able to wear Oculus and do that kind of shit. So I've you know, the idea of making a cartoon for Fox or for Disney sounds so archaic to me now. It sounds like old school shit, you know?
And you know what's wild, man, is that like 99% of the world would not think that's archaic. That's still a lot. That's still like a good percentage of the world's dream who hasn't discovered this.
Yeah,
like,
and that's just sad. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many artists that do not know that the future is like right here. And they're still like, you know, oh man, if I get a chance, I'm going to sell my shit to Disney or Nickelodeon. Or if I get a chance, Sony, Paramount, somebody's going to buy my shit. And it's like, dude, you don't know what you're getting into. I know it might be a dream of yours and go for it. I'm not trying to shit on nobody's shit. I'm not, if that's your dream, go for broke, bro. But what I'm saying is in that industry, in the entertainment industry that I took part of, and it still exists, it's a cutthroat. There's sharks and it's very cutthroat and people want what you have. I've heard Suits say this. If it wasn't for the artist, this would be a great industry about animation. If it wasn't for the artist, well, shit, if it wasn't for artists, motherfucker, you wouldn't have an industry. And I've actually gotten into arguments with some of these guys talking that kind of trash, saying that, you know what, you guys get in the way because you guys think you know best. I said, we know what we'd like to see with our artwork, and we know what we'd like the purpose of what we created, what we'd like to accomplish, or what the goal of it was. You like this is a pretty picture, do this with it, not knowing that's not what we wanted to do. Right now, when we got into the NFT world, everyone saw the cats, and they think that my metaverse is going to be nothing but the Meowthia game. The Meowthia game is only a section. I'd say, again, referring to that movie, it's my Planet Doom, where you go to earn money and face danger. But for the most part, I want it to be a vacation spot, a place where people can come be artistic, graffiti walls, a place where art can be displayed and sold for other artists. I don't need a piece of other people. That's the one thing I'm not cool with. When someone says, I'll give you a piece of it. I know that it's a necessary thing because of loyalty, like royalties and stuff like that. But when I've worked with other artists and I've had them do stuff for me, I just let them have the money. They wouldn't be doing it if they didn't need it. Like I said, I've been fortunate and blessed with some cash. You know, my wife is a CPA and she's very successful at what she does. Me and Meg has made my business, you know, she's kept it alive for the last, for sure, 16 years, for sure. It's been keeping it alive, because if it wasn't for her, there'd be no social media. There wouldn't be a catalog of my stuff. There would be no archiving of everything that I've done. There wouldn't be the networking. We wouldn't have investors in Saudi Arabia and princes and stuff trying to talk to us, you know, if it hadn't been for her making the right connections. Now, as an artist, I'm very skeptical about anyone trying to invest in me. I don't like the idea of someone saying, I'm going to put money in you and you're going to do what I say. And it's like, well, what do you mean? If you either like my shit and buy it and I move on with my life, or, you know, we just don't do business at all. But some of these guys, the way they see it is like they want to buy into my life and they want to buy my properties and own a little piece of me to be like, say, well, this guy created this and he comes from here. Because of my provenance and where I come from, they think they can capitalize off that. And I'm not cool with it. I want to work with other artists. it'd be cool. I've talked to some collectors, and
Yeah.
I like their ideas. I like how they say, "Hey, man, I like what you're doing in the sense of collecting." The first NFT we sold was to, well, to my best friend because she's a collector
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
jumping into NFTs and she wanted to be the first to get my first NFT, you know. And I told her, I go, all right, great, let's do this. And she
Yeah.
jumped on board and got our first one. And I thought this was awesome. You know, now she's involved, I'm involved,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's again a moving train that is constantly changing. I don't know what we're going to do or where we're going to go. I don't know who we're going to meet, but I'm excited. It's like
Dude.
being
Yeah.
somewhere for the first time with a bunch of cool fucking people that you know are into the same shit. Like
Yep.
you going to a Tool concert, you know everyone in the same fucking shirt is into the same fucking band. So that's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like I stopped going to festivals after ACL. I think it was in 2018. When I went to go see Pearl Jam with my buddies. I went to see them
Yeah.
both weekends. I love it. Like Pearl Jam, phenomenal.
Better.
Yeah, dude.
Better.
Yeah, man. But what I realized was that, you know, at ACL, like it's you know, I live in Austin, right? It's like, you know, you got to do it at least once. You know, it's one of the things like if you're local, you got to do it. Go to South by, go to ACL, go to like I
Yeah,
brush
like
them off as
Coachella
nonchalant
and stuff here.
yeah, like even though they're big fucking deals, I brush them off as like, yeah, whatever. But like it was that show that I realized that I will never go to a festival again because it's not because, you know, like it's just a cool place to be, but it's the fact that when I tried to like, I'm a mover, I'm a shaker. Like when I go see a band, like I want to move, I yell, I sing, I dance, I
Yeah.
like I vibe, you know, like
Yeah.
why the fuck are we like are we there anyway? You know, like what's the point of paying all this money if you can't vibe?
Dude,
But
with you.
but there was a sea of like bros and Barbies that would just like stand there and they wouldn't move and
Oh,
they
yeah.
wouldn't let you through. And I'm like, this is not the experience. I will never like. I want to go see and Pearl Jam killed it. Like Eddie always kills it. Like you know, just they just do magic. But I want to go see a Pearl Jam show like with just Pearl Jam fans. Like, cause
Yeah.
I've heard some of their live recordings, man. Like there's not, you know, like when you listen to a song and you hear the live recording and you can kind of like barely hear the crowd. Like
Yeah.
at Pearl Jam shows, you can hear it syllable for syllable. There is not
Yeah.
one word in that audience that does not know every single word to every single song that they're playing. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. It's same thing with Tool. Like it's the same vibe. Like I want to go to a place where it's nothing but just ridiculously fanatic Tool people. Like that's the only people I want to be around. Like because like we're paying for an experience. Like I don't know if you know this. Your mother-in-law will probably tell you this, but at Tool, they're one of the few bands where you cannot like they'll warn you probably about 50 times before the show starts. No cell phones,
Yeah.
no recording,
Yeah.
no pictures, no nothing.
That's why we have no footage of her at all at any of these places. That's where she says she goes. We don't know. She
Exactly.
doesn't record any of that shit. Yeah.
It's an experience. And like they want you to be there with them in this moment and celebrate this time. Like, and then at the end, like they always play the song called Stinkfist at the very end. And that is the only recording of a show you'll really, I mean, people bootleg it, people get away with recording, but the most recorded song is Stinkfist because they literally allow you to do that. But during the show, if you have your phone out, like your warnings before the show are your warnings. You don't get a warning once the show starts. If they see you with your phone, you're out. Like, and I've seen it happen. Like they are really, really serious about that. And it's like, it forces us to stay in this room in the moment with them and have this ridiculously strong connection that no one else gets to have because this is what we paid for. And there's something really special about that.
We went to we used to there's festivals out here at Coachella. And Life is Beautiful and all these other ones. We went to the last couple. We went to Coachella. The last time we went to Coachella was the same thing. Everybody was standing around with phones. Everyone was like, no one was listening to the music, and it was kind of like, dude, what the fuck? And there was a lot, like you said, a lot of bros that were there. Obviously, the fight. You know, there's like, dude, what are you guys here for? If you're not, you paid all this money to get kicked out. It's crazy. So the last festival, we started kind of pulling back on trying to go like Coachella. We pulled back. We're not going to that. And then we ended up going to New Orleans for the Voodoo Fest, and it was in the rain. It was like no one could record because you know it was raining. So it was like it was pouring down and lightning was going to strike you. There was lightning everywhere. So you pull out a phone, you're a lightning rod, motherfucker. So the people on stage, it was great till it got too rainy and the stage just started to sink. But it was
everyone was vibing.
Oh my God, it was so puddly. People, I don't know where they got these big old, those rafts that look like a pizza. Guy was running and sliding in mud puddles and shit, and we were watching it live. Shit you see like on video, you're like, oh my God, this festival is crazy. we were there firsthand. We got to see Peaches on stage. She was dancing with vaginas and penises on, in the rain, and it was crazy. It was something that, we were jumping up and down. There was no one videotaping this shit. It was just happening. It was bomb. So it was something like that. And I mean, I had never been to Mississippi at all, and Louisiana at all. So I was kind of crazy. So we went to Mississippi, Louisiana. And I ate like a week. I didn't know you could eat gator. I'm from California. Like, there's no alligators out here. There's coyotes and bears and shit. But I went there and for a week I ate alligator, and it was because I got to tell you, the experience being on Bourbon Street, being out there. I think we recorded maybe one experience on Bourbon Street. But it was so much going on. It was like, dude, you're going to get a phone dropped. And let's just live the moment.
And so you can't capture that. You can't capture that. There's no possible way to do that. Because even if you do, people don't have the context. They don't have the emotions. And same thing at a Tools. And especially at concerts, you're going to get the worst quality and you're never going to watch that over again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, especially as a Tool fan, like, they like really fit my demographic because like I'm a snob when it comes to like audio quality. Like when I hear some like really good, like they're just acoustics are beautiful. Like there's just the audio engineering if they're like with their music is a work in art of itself. And so, but it's just like I'm not gonna go listen to a Tool song on my phone that was recorded. Like, give me a break, man. Like, I'm just not gonna do that, man.
I drew my Weed cartoons, Buddy, and one of the first stages he comes across is Apophis. Apophis is a band that I made up. Apophis' actual meteor is supposed to strike the Earth in 30 years. I thought it was funny, so I thought, you know what, fuck it. They were killing the planet, so I said, fuck it, I'll make a band out of it. So Apophis. In that first scene, I drew a bunch of animals, and every single one was holding a phone up. Some were throwing up horns, like devil horns, but they're rocking out. But I put up a lot of phones. And I did that because I thought, every concert, no matter where I go now, me and Meg went to go see a band. It's a guy, Rye. And dude was trying to record and talk at the same time. Even if you're going to fucking watch the show and record it, why the fuck are you going to talk? The dude wouldn't shut up. He's, oh my God, I think it's a great show. They're like, dude, are you what are you recording this for later? Where are you going to listen to this? So you're right. In a concert, you immerse yourself. That's why we'd like in this NFT realm, if we make the metaverse, I would love to have venues where you could, like, can you imagine if we had the bowl and said, hey, Tool, we'd like you to come play for my boy over here, and he'd like to hear you play. And I'm sure we'd like to invite all the Tool fans. And why not? Wouldn't it be cool to have a place where they all just go and have them play, and just like in a VR realm? I think that would be cool, where everyone's like, holy shit, I can see you, and we're at a real concert. But you don't have to worry about getting now. Going to some of these concerts, the last time we went to, I think it was System of the Down. The mosh pit got out of control.
What a wild show. Yeah.
That mosh pit got a little out of hand. So we got a little too close to that, and I'm rolling with two girls all the time. Yeah. So I told my wife and told Megan, you guys better stand back. So it was a pretty dangerous little thing, but when you think about in VR, at least when we do a mosh pit, no one's going to get hurt.
Yeah. Well, and if you on a side note, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is a side note for like offline, but Serge, the lead singer of System of a Down, you got to check some of his artwork. He does his own art on the side, like paintings.
I know all about it because we have a friend named Hag. He's Armenian. His father is a very pronounced. He painted stuff for the Vatican. He's a very famous painter. His last name is Garrett. I can't even pronounce it. It starts with a G. But his son is a great musician. He plays guitar like a motherfucker. He's great. Well, he's a big System of a Down fan because they're all Armenian. They all kind of like look out for one another. Yeah. And I guess I don't know if he met, but his dad ended up talking to them, and they found out Serge was a painter, and they started showing me some of his work. I'm like, holy shit, this guy gets down.
Serge is legit, man. Yeah,
dude, Chris Brown. Chris Brown, the fucking singer. Have you seen his artwork? It's crazy. He's a great graffiti artist. He can draw. He can paint. There's like a lot of great artists out there. A lot of rappers that could really bust and stuff. It's crazy that there's a lot of musicians that took the musician route, but could have easily stayed in the art realm. Easy. Bart Simpson. Yeah. The way we see him today. You know who evolved him from that ugly Tracy Ullman look? Remember that Tracy Ullman show had the Bart Simpson look, right? And then it evolved to what he looks like now. You know who did that?
Who?
Eric Stefani from No Doubt.
Oh, shit.
Eric Stefani, he worked with us. Yeah, he was there. We worked with Swampy and them. He was there as an artist in The Simpsons, and he's the one that evolved the look. He's the one that mapped out and wiped out. Everyone knows that. No one's ever given him credit for it. I'll give kudos to that now. I remember thinking like he showed up to the studio once. I'm like, hey, isn't that dude from No Doubt? They're like, yeah, he used to work here. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, that's Eric Stefani. I'm like, the Stefani, the guy you guys keep talking about? He's the No Doubt guy? You know, yeah, that's Gwen's brother. Well, no shit.
Wow.
And then yeah, he worked with a lot of people there, but he's a great artist. Again, he's the one that actually rendered. You could say it rendered because he gave Bart structure, gave him that 3D that made the tubes connect, and Homer is a thumb, a thimble, and a ball. If you ever want to draw Homer, that's his head and a thumb in a thimble on a ball. That's it, you know. And there's 9 spikes to Bart, if I remember correctly. And then I think they changed Peter, but a lot of the stuff that we did back then, there was rules and stuff. Back then in The Simpsons, you could never put Homer. You couldn't draw him with his hands on his waist like Bugs Bunny. It was it was a big no-no. You couldn't do that. You couldn't have him do that. Put the one. There was something. There was a rule that they did with that. But I was there. I don't know if it dropped because I seen them do it after that. A lot of things changes. You know when you're somewhere and then you look at it. Hey, you know, I remember working at McDonald's when they actually had fire. You know, wow. They had fire on the grill. And Carl Jr. too. I remember that there was real fire in the place. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You can actually start the fire in McDonald's and at Carl's Jr. and accidentally did.
Well,
it got pissed me off. It was a thing. It was a thing. Anyways, but hey, man, I'm glad we got to talk because you know I was very nervous about doing this for one because I've spoke to a lot of people and talk about Mr. Emotional because he passed away and on his deathbed. If I have him call me, Michelle, his daughter, we're still friends. You know, for her to say, "Hey, my dad," you know, he wanted just to say goodbye, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" You know, are you serious? And you know, this is the guy who kind of mentored me. This guy who pushed me. This guy who really said, "Hey, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be an artist, come hell or high water. This is what you are. It's not what you're going to become. It's what you are." I've told my niece when she was like 1 year old, she grabbed a pencil like a normal person, like a normal pencil grab, and I told my sister, I go, "Dude, she's going to be an artist. Why?" And that's because I used to do that. I used to just grab a pencil and draw like nothing, and she was doing that.
You know.
Yeah, and Elin kind of, you know, she's gotten into other things, soccer and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure if she picked up a pencil, it would probably just come so natural to her. It would just would. My brothers and sisters all could do it, which was kind of a trip. All of us were artists, but I was the only one that pursued it. My brother could paint. My sister could paint and sculpt. My brother Martin was a great carpenter. He would build wood. His woodworking skills were crazy. So all of my brother Javi, he was the mathematical one. He used to tutor teachers in quantum physics, but all that smarts didn't prevent him from going 9 years to jail for not telling. He went the craziest shit ever. If you ever want to know, it's called The Promise on Dateline. If you ever want to know that whole story, it's the craziest thing ever. It was embarrassing at one time, but now it's something that, you know, you have to embrace what it is. You know, you learn from the past, and man, I'm pretty sure my brother learned. He learned a lot. He learned that he missed a lot in that, but in the tragedy of my life and in that, because it was part of it, great art was created. You know, me and Meg were able to create so many cool little things because the escape from what was going on was like me and Meg would be, you know, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Or, hey, you know, I thought of this character, and we just start making up a story. One day we were on a walk. She took a picture of I think it was a leaf. And she said it looked like a bat. And then we started talking about, oh, yeah, it'd be cool if a little bat named Batty Arbuckle. And he had, you know, a little glow room friend. You know, he was afraid of the dark. You know, and we just, all these little things, we just came up with a story. Next thing you know, we have the whole little drawn out story for this guy, have pictures and images of this the little character we just made up on a walk. And, you know, I would love for other people to see it. I would love other people to say, hey, you know what? I think I could add to that. Oh, can you? I would love to share what I've created thus far because I can't do it all by myself. You know, we're looking at over 20 years of IPs that have cross-pollinated one another, all stemming from Sparky. Sparky was the original like hub where it was going to be a platform where I can introduce all my friends that do comic book, you know, graffiti art, just T-shirts, and people that do sculptors. There was a guy who made a cool wire gorilla for me. He was called the Wire Guy. I don't know what happened to him, but he was doing just out of wire, making just movable characters. He like Transformers in a sense at the beach. And he would just find pieces in the trash, wires and bolts and stuff. and build these things, and it was amazing. And you know, this art like it's everywhere. Everywhere I look, Mr. Leverett told me, he goes, look at everything you buy. A shirt, anything, it's gonna say Levi's, it's gonna say something, Nike, they'll say Adidas, something. You go to the store, it's not just a box that says, you know, cereal. It's gonna have a little cute character on it. You know,
That's
look
right.
at Lucky Charms,
That's
look at
right.
this, look at that. And then look at the back. Look at the back of the box. You think that just was made? They just decided, oh, do that. Someone drew that, and I was
Yeah.
like, he made me look at packaging and at at t-shirts and at things that were like fashion. I had to draw. He made me draw fashion. He said,
Dude.
"Hey, you see that model?" He showed me a package of a magazine. He goes, "Now draw a girl, any girl you want to draw, and put that clothing on her." And I was like, "Oh shit!" You know, try to grab that design, put it on. So I did that, and he's also, that's fashion. You just put clothing on a different person. I said, "Well, I didn't make it up." He goes, "Well," he goes, "Now can you draw clothing on another person?" I said, "Sure, but now that I know what you want, tell me what you want, address that." He would tell me and I would do it. And then he goes, "That's fashion." So he introduced me to all aspects. The only thing that he didn't introduce me to was computers. And that was on my own through gaming
Right. Right.
just by the time that I got
Look
into
at, yeah.
computers in college, that Doom and all those were really big. And
Yeah, yeah.
man, I just jumped in there, dude, and I went for broke.
But
So
again, he showed you the door. He didn't teach you how. Like, you know, it's like that was the computer stuff. All the that's all you. You know, like
yeah,
that's it, like it's like I said, he showed you the door. He didn't do it for you, but he showed you the door. He showed you the applications. He showed you different ways, and then you found a way to apply your own thing to it. And I think that like that's the beauty of like having this, man. And like I think I've said it probably 3 or 4 times, but like you have so much to contribute to the scene by sharing stories like that to like show people the door, and then they can come up with other ideas to bring through the door. Like, but once you like part of that challenge with anyone learning something new is that like once you see the door, it's good. But like getting to that point where you can like see it, it hinders creativity. It creates a lot of self doubt, a lot of imposter syndrome, all the things. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so like, dude, I would love to like see some of that shit. Like, cause I feel like you would be like such a huge personality on Spaces, like bringing up other artists, like getting like finding ways to collaborate with other artists. Bro,
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces is, and I don't like using this word in a negative term. I'll find a better word for it, but it's like a cesspool of like creativity, man. Like there is just like I know that it has a negative connotation to it, but like you know there's just like so much talent like permeating through Twitter, and like you just randomly come into these like Twitter
Yeah.
Spaces. Like I want to start wrapping it up here, man. But like I found this like there was a website that I go to, or that I like, where I can own some fractions of blue chip NFT projects. It's wild, dude. I actually had the community manager on a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about some new shit that went way over my head. I was just there vibing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but you couldn't do this. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Couldn't you do this by doing like this, and that, and doing that as an overlay and changing this code? And technically, couldn't that be done? And there was some this silence. And he was like, yeah, it actually could be. Like, who wants a weekend project? And if you can do this, like you're hired. And I'm like, this is the type of shit that's happening in these spaces. You're just like, now I understood none of what was happening, but what I did understand was this was really big. And like the fact that we're able to like that could literally change someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, just from hanging out in an audio chat room. Like,
Well, it's funny. Yeah, I've recently just told the story. I told you about DJ, my brother, when I
yeah.
got into it. Now, when he ended up at King of the Hill and Futurama. And while he was at Futurama, now DJ, he's 5'8", and he was about 320, 25 at the time, little pudgy guy. And he said, "I'm tired of drawing heroes." He was really in the comic books, Superman, all this Batman stuff. He goes, "I want to be a hero in real life." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I want to be a fireman." I go, "Okay, let's go." And with me, it was never I never told DJ no. If he said, "I want to do this," we're going to do it. So he goes, "But everyone says I'm too short and too fat." And I said, "Well, then we're going to the gym." And I got him into the gym, and we started working out. And I got him down to 190 of solid muscle. He became a fireman. He's still a fireman at 63 in Venice, a fireman paramedic.
Same.
And I was on a journey with him then. I was there, like you said, to open doors and watch people as you open a door and watch him go. And I watched that. I watched DJ from going into animation to saying, I don't want to
Yeah.
do this anymore. I want to draw. I want to be a real hero.
Yeah.
DJ is a great example of me saying, "Oh, I'll open the door." And his cousin Muncie, cousin Muncie, his cousin. He when he was a little kid, he would constantly ask me to come watch him play football, and I told him, "Sure, I'll come watch your games." And he says, I watched him play, and I told him, I go, you're really good. I can't wait for you to play in the NFL. And he goes, you think I can? I go, I guarantee you will play in the NFL. I'm assuring you that you will. And I, as a kid, so all through high school and college and stuff, I kept telling him, you're going to be in the NFL. You're going to be in the NFL. When he got to college, he got to a scholarship to San Jose State. And he didn't have a car, and I had an El Camino. I had two of them, silver and black, and I'm a diehard Raiders fan. And I had a gold and black one. And I gave him the gold and black, and I said, I hope this doesn't come back to bite me. He goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, I should give you the silver and black so that way you play for the Raiders. And he goes, oh, yeah, whatever. So he went off, played San Jose for a little bit. They transferred over to the Huskies. He graduated Huskies. First year out, he became a Pittsburgh Steeler, all right? And he won a Super Bowl ring. When he was a little kid, I told him, when you're an adult and you're on the Super Bowl field, I want you to call me and tell me, hey, I'm on the field. Guess what he did on the day of the Super Bowl? When he played with Paulo Malo and all this, that NFL ring. We have a picture of me with the ring. But he called me from the field. He goes, hey, Gorilla, guess where I'm at? I go, I know where you're at, baby. Because I knew from when he was a kid, when you see talent, talent.
You just know it.
You just know it.
Yeah.
And whether it's football, whether it's a talent with a guitar or a bass or a pencil, it doesn't matter. When you see talent, it's not. I have no credit in that kid's accomplishment. DJ's or Muncie's. I don't have any accomplishment. They say, oh, thank you, Gorilla. It's all because of you. I did nothing other than witness and encourage them to do what they set out to do. That's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They wanted to be firemen. They wanted to, and now both of them are firemen. Muncie's a fireman in Arizona, and DJ's like going 18, 20, I don't know, it's 16 years, 17 years for sure as a paramedic. So he's like going 18 years as a firefighter now. And he's at Venice 63s. I'm very proud of my boys. I'm very proud of their accomplishments. And I felt a sense of pride and a sense of like, I did it too, even though I had nothing to do with it. But sitting on the sidelines, like watching, like a parent watching their kid, and that's what I felt like. I felt like I watched someone blossom into what they said they were going to do. And it felt as if I was now wearing Mr. Leverette's shoes and watching me. Does that make sense? I was able to see and walk the shoes of someone that I admired, and it did what someone did for me, I was doing for someone else. DJ and them were living in South Central, Figueroa and 66. Now, if you know South Central Los Angeles, that's a pretty rough area.
Okay.
Watch Boys in the Hood. It's not far from there.
Gotcha.
It's South Central. It's near the Coliseum. It's pretty rough. It was a rough area. It's been pretty cleaned up now. It's pretty been gentrified pretty good in that area. It's not what it once was. But when DJ was there, it was very rough. I had him living with me for a while when I first met him because he was, as an artist, every artist carries a little caboodle, a little art tray, caboodle full of art tray. He would get robbed for that. He would get beat up and robbed for that on a daily, just taking the bus. And he was like having a rough time just getting back and forth to school. Now, mind you, my boy's, 10th degree black belt. He can handle himself. He can defend himself. But, guns and stuff that were being whipped out on him, he can't do much against. So he had to pretty much give up what he had. And at times he'd show up to the school at that time we were doing that school with nothing. So I'd end up buying him new materials constantly and having him stay with me. I gave him a van because that way he wouldn't have to ride the bus anymore. So in giving him my old company van from the t-shirt company, it was a busted up van. It was getting him from A to B.
Hey man,
I wasn't
all that matters.
But that little bit helped him and his family. And I was always there for them. And to me, to say their family is my family. That's my fam. I'm very proud of them. I was very glad to see that they turned their lives into what they set out to do. From the area, they technically would have been a statistic. From where they live, none of them, the dads weren't around, nobody was around. Uncles were shot dead and stuff like that. They were living at Granny's house. Freddie Mae Sedgwick, God bless her and rest her soul. She entrusted me with her family. She pretty much entrusted me with them because she let me DJ was a child. He was 17 years old, and I was like 20 something, hanging out with this kid. I'm like 9 years older than him or whatever, and I'm hanging out with him. He didn't have a big brother or a dad that he could look on, and I took him under my wing, and I watched him turn into what he is today. And he drew for the King of the Hill and for Futurama, and now as a firefighter. I had nothing to do with that, but to watch that success and journeys, like you were talking about, to open a door and let someone try something. That's what I'd like to do now here in this NFT world. I'm going to try. Meg told me about maybe starting a space and trying something. I was going to start tweeting. I've never done any of this stuff before, so I'm fairly new to it. I mean, this is literally my first podcast, so I don't know if I'm done. If this is any good. I don't know if I've done right.
Well, here's the thing, man. There's no right or wrong way. Like there just is what it is. Like we're two dudes recording an almost 3-hour podcast, like vibing about your story and art and like all this shit. Like there's no rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is just a creation. This is like, cause like when it comes to my abilities, like I've always been really good at relationship building, listening, talking to people. Like I can find common ground with a pebble. You know what I mean? And this is like my creative expression, So it's just like when Meg was like, he can go, man, and we got to have some guardrails. I'm like, man, fuck the guardrails. We go where the conversation takes us. And that's the coolest part. Cause we've gone from your childhood, we've gone to your studio experience, we've gone to NFTs, we've gone to like
all over the place,
all fucking over the place, man. And like, that's, I'd have it no other way. I mean, to be honest, like
I appreciate it. So as an artist and for living my life the way I've lived it, it's kind of, you start to think like it's kind of, you feel like it could be embarrassing, or maybe even like, maybe it's going to be a bad influence. A lot of people, actually, I was told one time saying, you should probably never tell anybody you ran with homeboys, or that, or that you were involved in this or involved in that. I said, but that's what made me what I am today. I can't, I still have homies. I still talk to them. Now they're older. They still do knuckle-itty things, which at 50 I find incredibly stupid, but whatever. Do your thing. Some of us took a path of following dreams and careers and trying to be decent members of society. Others stayed on the course where they'll never see a tree, a bird, or the sun again. So it's kind of it's hardcore when you look at where we're at. So for me to be here and kind of talk about it, it's cathartic, but also it's kind of stressful and freaky, because you start thinking people are going to hate me now because they're going to know, like, oh, this fucking guy, he didn't even go to school, because I didn't really go to art school, and people thought like I was shit upon in the industry for that. People are saying, you didn't even go to school, you don't know these references that we're talking about. I said, you're talking about like, you're talking about Freaks, that movie Freaks. There was a movie called Freaks that everyone was like, at one time everyone was talking about Freaks, and it was because it was something that they showed over at Cal Arts, and I was like, I didn't go to Cal Arts. So what school did you go to? It's like they show it at every art school. I didn't go to art school, and some people thought I didn't deserve to be there. I was told, you don't belong here, bro. You don't belong here. And I said, fuck you. I earned my position here, and ain't nobody fired me. I've been here a year, and apparently
obviously you did, because you're there.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I made it. And just because I came in a different way doesn't mean I don't deserve to be here. And as a business owner, this was my motto. If I hired anyone, I don't care if you had a degree. If you can do the job, the proof is in the pudding. I don't give a shit what the paper says. It's the actions. If you can draw, if you can print, if you can do whatever the fuck I need you to do, I don't care if you went to school for it. But if you have the abilities, man, you could do it. Then you're on, man. I'm down for that. So I'm not really for pedigrees. Because I've worked with a lot of people that I went to this. I'm magna cum laude. I did that and this, that. I said, dude, but your art is shit. You're shit, dude, because all you talk about is where you went to school and all the people that you know. But I don't sound like a dick or nothing, but you didn't draw for The Simpsons. You didn't draw for Family Guy, so you can suck it. Don't tell me about things like that. So I've gotten into it with people that tell me that I shouldn't tell my story the way I should really glorify more and tell people like a prettier side to how it was. And I said, well, that's not me, homie. I'm not going to tell people a bullshit story that, someone can call me on later and say, hey, that's not true. Everything I've told you is true. Some of my friends that are dead and gone can't back it up. The ones that are in jail aren't going to talk to you. They probably would. They'd love to hear from anybody.
Right,
but I don't,
right.
I have a rule of mine. There's some things that I just kind of live by. If you go away, dude, that's your choice, man. Good luck. I'll see you when you get out. I'm not going to chase that That's your choice, bro. I have too many
100%.
friends in there. If I had to sit and write a letter to all my friends that have decided to take that route, I'd eat up a lot of time, and I wouldn't be doing it. And so, and a lot of them didn't believe in my motto, and my motto is simple, and it still sticks to this day. And I told Meg, we're going to enter the NFT world with the same motto I've always had. You could run with me, you could run behind me, run next to me, or don't run at all, but get the fuck out of the way because the gorilla's coming. And I'm coming full steam. And I'm coming full steam. There's nothing going to stop me. There's nothing going to hinder what I intend to do here. I want to create a world. I want to create a world with other artists. I want a bunch of us to work together in unison to say, look what we did. We did this shit. All right. We can't be the one guy that can say, oh, I did this by myself. Great, dude. Someone can, it could have been better if you had more people, possibly. You don't know. And I believe that shit. There's so much talent out there that's not seen that this is what I want to do now. I want to hook up with everyone that thinks they're good. I don't give a shit if they're not. I want to see how good they are. And if they can use some improvement, or if they can take some honest criticism, I'll tell them, hey, bro, if I were you, I'd probably do this. I never tell anyone what they should do. I would say, hey, if it were me, this is what I'd do. That's usually my way of telling people. I'd probably wonky this a little. It might be a little, hey, you're a little offset. I don't want to tell anyone what to do, because sometimes in high school, I remember telling this girl, Denise, I dated her for a while too. I told her, hey, he looks a little off. So when you're supposed to look at it in perspective, it's like, she drew it that way on purpose, so you look at it at a certain angle. But when you look at it dead on, the horse looked like it had a really weird face. Right. And she was working on perspective, even though she knows that technically I was right. She got a little pissed off, but then I also understood that she was saying, like, I did this on purpose. Fuck you for bringing it up. And I thought ever since then, I really stopped critiquing people's artwork. I look at people's artwork and say, wow, I understand what it is. You created something out of your mind, or whether you even did fan art and replicated something. You took the time to take a pencil, a pen, or something and do it. And the fact that you did it, I respect that as an artist and as a person, that you took the time to do it. When someone says, hey, Gorilla, can you draw this for me? I'm always flattered. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, sure. As a business owner, I know I should be like, well, what's your budget? What are you looking at? What are you looking to spend? But as an artist, I never think that. That's why I got Meg, because everything I've ever had, I pretty much have given away. I can never think of really selling any of my NFT is probably the first thing I've really actually sold. I mean, we've done so much artwork for people that never pay us. We've done like skateboards, T-shirts. We've come up with ideas for people's like storybooks, coloring books, kids books, all these different things. And they never pay us because they have an idea. It's like, oh, I have a great idea. All right, cool. I start working with them, thinking that we are understanding that my time and my drawings this is opportunity costs. Every time I sit here drawing something or sitting here talking to you, I could be making money somewhere else. But they didn't understand that. But they thought, well, we'll get all your stuff and then I'll see what I can do. It's like, no, bro, this is my time and it costs money. And if you look at scale of what I've worked for, think about how much it costs an hour. So, if I work 8 hours on something, that's how much I put into it. Now, I need you to match that money-wise so we can make this shit happen. So we had a lot of people that didn't understand the concept of value of art and time. So it was really, it's been that way still, even now. Even some of the investors don't understand when we tell them. We recently worked on Buddy the skunk thing. I made a trailer for 3 minutes. 3-minute trailer. We got quoted $250,000 for a 3-minute trailer. It's 6 seconds for animation right now. But I thought, there's so many other animators that don't have work, and they'll never work for this fucking studio that have the same ability. But I will give them IMD credit if they decide, if this thing turns into something, they have a job. I was always trying to think of something. We were working with schools, trying to get them to say, hey, listen, if I give you a project for the school, it's my property. We'll have the students. I'll work with them. We can make boards. We can do this. And if it turns into something, we take it to a studio. They have jobs now. All right, they'll have jobs. They're grandfathered. I'm going to make sure they're grandfathered in. And some of the schools were like, well, what do we get out of it? It's like, dude, it's about the students. I thought you guys were about the students. Well, fuck you guys, man. Now we want a piece of the royalties. Like, bro, I go, you're not doing anything to work. All you're doing is providing me with the students. I want to work with the artists, not with you. I go, I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need your paperwork. I don't need your telling me anything. I just need your students. So it was kind of those things where we're trying our best to kind of like really expand our operations back then. And now here we are with the NFT world. And again, I've been rambling. How long? 3 hours? My iPad's about to die.
3 hours. 3 hours.
It might be, I don't know what time it is in Texas. What time is it over there?
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Oh my God, it's probably dinner time for you, bro.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Man, hey, I didn't anticipate like Meg.
I didn't either.
Meg knows that I ramble. I have a lot of stories, and you know what? I haven't. This is just quick ramblings. I mean, if I sat in a room with you, and we're smoking weed or drinking a beer, and you said, "Hey, just tell me a story," I can tell you about one of the things I've told you about in more detail.
Oh yeah.
It could eat up an hour or two, and just in pure detail. Events that occurred while I was at the Simpsons, good and bad. Things at Family Guy, and people that I met, the artists, the eclectic nature of some of these artists, some of the things that I became witness to when I was invited to Burning Man and to like all these different events, S&M parties that these guys were into, but an art exhibit at the same time. It was crazy, very Kubrick shit. We just watched Squid Games. At the end, like right now, at the very end, when the VIP show up, it's I've been to shit like that. I've been to the Playboy Mansion. I've been to places that a lot of people have never been. And I wasn't there for a party. I was drawing fucking a box for Cooper. It was really, I did show up one time for an event and I had to get out of it because, you going from a party world, when you Coke, Coke was my thing. And paranoia, too many people were around me. It got too wild. And when it seemed like everyone knew like, oh, that's the guy that has it. It's like everyone's watching. He's like, oh shit, I didn't want to be around it. So I would always try to break out of any of these parties. So again, I have stories that go on, and I've been rambling all shit, and I don't even know what I missed or talked about at this point. I just remember, hey, it's been great talking to you. I'll tell you that. And
dude,
like
it's been a vibe.
It's been really cool, and it's a great way to kind of like also clear a lot of stuff out that I haven't talked about in a long time, and things that I've kind of like seemed like Mr. Leray. It makes me emotional. It makes me sad because even though it's been several years now that he's been gone. I'm still friends with his kids. I'm still friends, with them and his grandchildren. It's kind of a trip that I'm still in contact with them. My friends that were encouraging Sherry Ferrari from college, when I would sit there and watch The Simpsons with her in her house, and she would tell me how, I know this is for you. You're going to do this. How encouraging she was. And I didn't forget that, and it's kind of like, I wish that's what I'm looking to do now. I'd like to be that Jiminy Cricket on the next artist generation, like, hey man, you could do this, bro. And maybe they don't have that they've had like somebody salty like me, someone that's been in the industry to say, hey, pat them on the back and say, bro, this is good, keep going. Maybe that'll push them to keep going. Because I always felt like everyone was telling me, good job, Michael. So, all right, cool. I'm just gonna keep going. But I did hear a lot of negative shit too. But those guys, the haters that I had back then, I just didn't give a shit about anyways, When I was a kid, I fought a lot because I was a fat kid and I just had to knuckle up a lot. I didn't want to. I just got really good at it because, when you're a chubby kid and everyone calls you fatty, fatso, or any of that stuff, you immediately want to put a stop to it. And I was one of those kids that, because I was picked on by older cousins, I defended myself with a very tenacious and very vicious attacks when I was a kid. I wanted it to stop. So I made sure, like, if you hurt my feelings, I'm going to hurt you so bad that you are going to never want to hurt my feelings again. So that's how I was as a child. So that anger and all that stuff was always expressed through art. So my artwork as a child was a lot of skulls, a lot of hatred and anger that I had, a lot of gang stuff, a lot of gang violence, was pushing. I drew a lot of weapons for some crazy reason. Now that I draw them for fun as cartoons, I find myself drawing them with such ease and making them up that they don't exist because they're cartoony fake guns. But the fact that I can draw weapons with such ease, it's because I drew them so much as a child. I won't say I was emo or gothy, but I could say that I could empathize and sympathize with all the goths, and I can see how those guys are all, I remember sitting there listening to some of their poetry, as I sit at a warm bath by Bow and Blood, I ponder, and it's like, oh shit, you listen to words like that and you're like, man, this is deep shit. This guy's really thinking. But it made me think. Even some of the lyrics that some of my friends would write on their songs, they never did anything with their bands, but some of them were powerful. And then when Nirvana came into the scene, I was like, dude, you guys are just as good as these motherfuckers. I remember going I went on a run with my cousin, and we met up with some friends and papas and beer down in somewhere in Mexico. I was completely trashed. We ended up seeing the Red Hot Chili Peppers live on stage, and I didn't even know who they were. I was like, hey, these guys are
Wow.
rocking, man. These guys are badass. They're all, dude, they're from Cali, bro. I'm like, no shit. I'm like, no. And we were in Mexico. And I remember hearing them like, yeah, fuck yeah. And we heard them, the Red Hot Chili Peppers live I had never heard them before. They were just playing some papas and beer. And it
That's
was
sick,
crazy.
man.
Yeah.
That's
And
sick.
it was the wildest thing ever. And it was like one of those things where like, man, experiences like that. I remember thinking like when I got back, I remember drawing a lot of stuff from that experience. It might have been a crazy peyote trip that day or acid, but it was still like the artwork that came out was so
Yeah,
bitchin'.
yeah.
I was telling Meg about one time in an art class. I know that I'm taking all your time, but this was a great story. One time we all decided, and this is how I thought of the NFT world would probably work. One time, Mr. Leverett told us all, hey, there's a big sheet of paper on the wall. He put this long ass thing of paper, and he goes, I want you guys to make one gigantic art piece between you all. And he left the room. We're like, fuck, all right. And then we're all, what should we draw? None of us knew what we were going to do. I don't know what to do. So I thought, well, you know what? It was Jimi Hendrix's birthday or something like that time. Something about dude Jimi Hendrix. So I said, we should do a lot of psychedelic 60s shit. And they were like, yeah. Well, we should get in the mood first. Well, oh, yeah. So we whipped out mushrooms. And we all started taking little pieces of mushroom, microdosed in a sense. And we started to we're like, anyone feel anything? And I'll never forget, it was Chunkers, this guy Chunkers. He starts touching the fucking end of the paper. He goes, this is my section, bro. Well, yeah. So then we start going to town. Yeah. All of us just start drawing. I have this guy drew Charles Manson. We had Jerry Garcia. I started drawing like the Yellow Submarine shit, because I was like into the whole Yellow Submarine. That was all cartoony and stuff. So I did the Sergeant Pepper. I was doing all this crazy like Beatles stuff, and it was kind of like none of us were using reference material, which was crazy. We were all going based on memory, and we were like, the Charles Manson was so fucking good. I can't even remember who did it. I think it was this kid we called Gizmo. But anyways, he ended up doing this crazy Charles Manson. We did this gigantic mural. And at the end, we were so proud. All of us were just like, dude, we all, by the time the class was over, we were all still tripping. But man, we just stayed and admired our work. We did it because it was like second, third, we had like advanced art. It was like two classes mixed together. So it was like two periods. Yeah. So it was a long class. So we just, the whole time we were busting, Mr. Leverett was doing some clay shit in the next room. He just left us alone. And because we were advanced art and he let us go to town on it. And I thought that experience of how fun it was that we just all collabed. We all just said, fuck it, take a space. And then at the end, it just looked like one gigantic art piece. That's what I kind of hope and see that would start happening in this NFT realm, where I meet up other artists and I don't give a shit how good they are. We can get like, oh, he's a beginner. Well, fuck, we'll just put a little second and maybe he'll advance. And, as we start to go, his wall will get better and bigger and more advanced. I believe I got better by watching cartoons, by playing video games, by looking at cereal boxes and looking at the characters and saying, hey, I think I can do that. And by witnessing other art, I think that helped me create my own. So I figured if I put my shit out there, maybe someone can see it and be like, hey, I can do that. Or, hey, I can draw like that. And maybe to inspire, push, or even help someone. Because in the stuff she records me doing, you actually see me doing structure, how I start my drawings. Like when I went blind, even now, I won't lie to you, when I do a sketch, sometimes I'll walk away and come back and really look at it and trip out that I did it. When I was excited about starting the Mafia video game, I was so excited one night. I was telling Meg, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I have this leader, we'll do this, we'll do that. I went to bed. I got up the following morning, and on my art table was a cat. I got up in my sleep and walked over and drew a cat in my sleep, and it was there in the morning. It was the craziest thing ever. And she took a picture of it. It was Mr. Chow, the leader of the Chinese mafia, the Yakuza triads. The triads.
Yeah.
And it was Mr. Chow. And I remember drawing him. I thought I dreamt it. So I told the girls, I had a dream. I have to draw Mr. Chow. So I went to the table and I was staring at this drawing and I was looking at it and I was like, what the fuck? Where did it come from? And I really had tripped myself out. I didn't know where the fuck it come from. I was like, dude, there's a drawing on my table that's exactly what I dreamt of. And now I told you I was really heavy at one time. So this happened to me before where I'd get up in my sleep and do something, but it wasn't drawing. I was eating. I had eaten like a dozen donuts one time, and I blamed the girls. Like, who the fuck ate my donuts? And it was me. I got up and ate. I dreamt of eating donuts, and I actually did it. So I did the same.
Yeah.
And I did that with an art piece. I actually dreamt that I drew something, and apparently I got up in the middle of the night and drew it. And I didn't have good vision at that time. I was still kind of half blind at that point, and I just can't believe that I did it. So even now, telling you that story, I'm like, God, I can't believe I did that. It still trips me out.
Yeah,
all the stuff that I do, and it's still kind of a weird thing. And I don't know if it's because of those little mushroom trips that we did back in the art room back in the day, or the stuff that from the Simpsons and those party days. I don't know. But to this day, I still kind of trip out on my art pieces, and I still don't see myself as a professional or a celebrity artist. I just see myself as an artist, and I'd like to meet up other artists to, fuck it, man, just to fucking do something with me, just to make something fucking cool and say, look, we did that shit,
Hell yeah.
And I know I have so many ideas, and they're just sitting here, and I know now with the metaverse and NFTs, dude, it's a game changer for me. It's going to change. And now you're right. I think that making a space, and, it's encouraging to hear someone say that these stories can help, because I was always told they were going to be just, that you should keep quiet about this shit. You shouldn't tell. I literally was told by somebody in the industry, you shouldn't tell anybody your past, bro. Well, why not? Well, because it's so obscure. You're going to be such an oddball that, no one's going to want to work with you. And I said, really?
Bro, people pay to see oddballs.
I know,
dude,
I know that now, that, when you're hearing it, when you hear it, when you get into an industry and you're not too certain, you're like, shit, dude, is this going to really hinder me? And then I started getting treated different. When people did hear my story, like, you didn't go to school and you just walked here and you did what? And then at the Simpsons, when I said, I want to be a character designer. And they said, no, dude, you start off with cleanup. You start off here. You did. I didn't start with cleanup. I got right into layout. No, well, you shouldn't have. You should have started here. I don't know the rules. I didn't test for cleanup. I tested for layout, and I was able to do it. So then I said, I want to be a character designer. I was like, dude, it takes years to get an office. You can't do it. You can't. I'm all, what are you talking about? Yeah. As a business owner, never say never to me when you say that shit. Like, what do you mean I can't? I can't do it. I'm going to show you I can. So when I got on the Family Guy, I ended up in an office, from cubicle to office in a year. And everybody that was talking shit was like, yeah, you're not supposed to be doing this. And I'm all, but I'm doing it. And, it's like, no one can stop you once you start. Like I told you, you could run behind me, run next to me, or don't run at all. But, gorilla's coming. So get the fuck out the way. And I meant it then, and I still mean it now. And that's where I'm headed into the NFT realm. This is where we're headed. And that's where I'm going. And that's the motto I take, man.
Fucking hell, man. Well, dude, this has been an absolute treat. I mean, like I said, we unpacked everything. Like we unpacked everything. Right? Like, yeah, dude.
You're my therapist for today, Brett. I'll tell you right now, man. Thanks, bro. I feel great. I feel like I have weights off my shoulders and shit.
I love it. I love it, man. Like I'm still debating on like, what do I release this in one episode? Do I do it? Do I break it into chunks? Like, cause like that's gonna be my cause this is the first time this has happened where it's been this long of a podcast. I'm like,
oh man, it's the first time I ever read this. Like, we're in this long.
I don't count it.
She was said, and she said keep it brief, and this to me is brief. I've had conversations with somebody. And this is a true story. One time I was I was in jury duty, right?
Yeah.
This was before the pandemic. The last jury duty I went to, I sat next to this guy, and we all fucking day, and I don't remember shit about the guy, but that dude can tell you everything about me. And I talked to him for hours, and at the end, he's all, bro, he goes, I wouldn't have got through this hadn't it been for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, you told me everything about yourself. He goes, now I know that I'm gonna follow you on all the social media. You're a cool dude. And he goes, and fuck, dude, because I would have never even believed some of these places existed had it not been for you, or people are like that. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy, man. Yeah. So I'm glad that you let me open up, and I'm glad that it, again, it feels good to know that I could talk about this kind of shit and not be judged. And hey man, if your dilemma is now having to break this up into like sections, cool, bro.
It's a good problem to have, man. It's a good problem to have.
I've always told Meg, it's better to have too much than too little, and better to have something you don't need than to need something you don't have. So
exactly,
it's always
man.
that. So
exactly.
Again, and on my little isms that I'm throwing out, the part that I have with this whole thing about sharing my IPs in this NFT realm is this, bro. It's better to have a little bit of something than a whole lot of nothing. And right now, I got a whole lot of nothing because no one knows what I've got. You know what I mean? I got a shit ton of IPs, and they're just sitting here, no one knows about them. But if I can't share them with someone and say, hey man, you got a part of this, you want to help? It's kind of pointless. So it's better to have a little piece of something than a whole lot of nothing. So that's another thing, bro, that I'm kind of taking in this NFT world. So I'm glad that this helped out, and I'm glad it's helped me out. And I feel great. You know,
Fucking hell,
I feel
man.
pretty. I feel good that, you know, that I can. You've made me think about your things, you know, for sure. I had never really thought about a space being as a helpful tool for another artist. I thought it was going to be just for me to meet them, not necessarily as a place for someone to kind of like give them a platform and say, bro, let's see what you got. The guy Acid, he actually pinned some of my artwork up as we were talking during these spaces, which I want to learn how to do. So that'd be cool to say, hey, this guy's cool. You guys should follow him. I want to do that kind of stuff because I was doing that on MySpace and on Instagram for a while, saying, hey, you guys got to see this artist and stuff. But then Instagram and Facebook got really weird with ads. The algorithm got really wonky where it was like, dude, no one's seeing my friends that are artists. Everyone's just getting ads, and they think that I'm spamming them because I'm trying to show them artists. So it just got kind of weird and wonky. So I'm thinking that this is our place, and you know, 100%. I really do appreciate it 100%, dude. That you did get, you know, that you invited us on here, and that I didn't bore you, and that
I don't know how the fuck anyone can be bored after talking to you, man.
Yeah, man. And I hope that I didn't ramble too much. And I know that I have a tendency to kind of just spew a bunch of shit, like, you know, but. You know, I've seen a lot in 50 something years, you know, 51. And then I'm not going to lie to you, in the 51 years of my life, I've seen about 100 years worth of shit, you know, and I know because running with homies and growing up and doing the things that I've done, although they may not have been the prettiest things at times, they have molded me into what I am today. Like I tell Meg, you know, you can't have light without dark, man. You can't have wet without dry. So we need to have all these experiences for us to move forward. And, you know, and now with this, bro, I think that you've kind of encouraged me to move, you know, into a more positive space. So thanks, brother. I appreciate this. Absolutely, and I appreciate you taking the time to even talk to us. I know that it's getting late and we got to get this off. So
I can tell it's getting dark.
Yeah, I can tell it's getting dark behind you. So we'll let you go, brother. And again, if you ever need chit chat, man, you give me a holler and, you know, talk again. This is really cool, man.